Only the track founder and chairman. He passed away in January. Today, his family carries on the tradition. Let's go trackside for pre-race ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the 193rd Special Operations Wing, Pennsylvania Air National Guard presents our nation's colors. Please join in a moment of silence as we honor the memory of Cotton Owens, the legendary driver, owner, mechanic, and recent selection into the 2013 NASCAR Hall of Fame class, who passed away Thursday at the age of 88. We also pause to remember and honor the life of Pocono Raceway founder, Dr. Joseph Mattioli. Thank you. Please remain standing as Father Mike Clotton of the Diocese of Scranton offers today's invocation.
Let us pray. We gather here today to say thank you to God and to remember. We thank you for the wonderful fans, the expert drivers, and the dedicated employees. We also thank you for the smoking new hot track surface that makes this raceway the jewel of the Poconos. We remember a great man who has gone before us, marked with the sign of faith, our beloved Dr. Joseph Mattioli, who's smiling down now on us and so proud of those who are carrying on the great tradition of the Pocono International Raceway. We ask you to remember us in your loving arms and make this the safest ever with no cautions. Bring us to the end of this race with rays of sunshine. Take us all safely home and bring us back again in August, refreshed and ready to race again. We pray this in your name, and let's hear that amen. One more time, amen.
Please welcome Senior Airman Naomi Scott, United States Air Force 436th Airlift Wing out of Dover Air Force Base, as she performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Are you ready? We are. NASCAR on TNT. Glad to be back. We fire the engines when we return to Pocono Raceway.
Yes, we are faster. Yes, there's more grip, but there's just a different feel with this asphalt versus the stuff they put at Charlotte, Phoenix, and some of these other tracks.
The toughest thing is the groove's kind of narrow right now, you know, and until we get into racing and you know, restarts where the cars can get double, you know, too wide and double file restarts. It's the outside groove's treacherous. So.
The G load, all that stuff. It's not terrible, but you just notice it's a little higher. So you kind of realize in the back of your mind, you're like, man, if something goes wrong, it's going to hurt a lot harder than what it used to be.
You know, definitely the setup's changed. Definitely the entry and exit of the corners have changed quite a bit. So, but guys that have had success here in the past will probably still have a little bit of an upper edge, but I think it's been leveled out a little bit.
You've heard from the drivers. Now we give you today's headlines. Let's go trackside to Marty Snyder.
Adam, when I talked to Jeff Gordon on Friday, he told me, yeah, we're in win mode. In fact, we're desperate for a win. It's the only way we're going to make the chase. When you talk to people in the garage area this morning, they all say this might be the guy to beat. But in Pocono, the talk's been all about the track. For more on that, here's Ralph.
Marty, yesterday in qualifying, 209 miles an hour down this pool table smooth long front straightaway to turn 1. They're going to be 3, 4 wide, headed down into 1, and then battling to get to a very narrow groove at the bottom of the curve. Matt?
Now, Pocono has always been unique, but now with the repave, it's out of this planet. Keep an eye on the tunnel turn, the tough and treacherous turn 2. That's where you're going to see Chris guys go 2, 3, 4 wide, funnel down into the bottom.
Matt, all the talk has been about the speed on the racetrack, but I think this race is going to be won by the speed in pit lane. It's going to have to be perfect pit stops and good pit strategy. Is the call going to be for 2 tires, 4 tires, or no tires? Larry?
Biggest thing, you want to make sure you don't let that race car leave without being full of Sunoco race fuel. Adam?
And now we go trackside for the command to fire engines at Pocono.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome Chairman of the Board of Pocono Raceway, Dr. Rose Mattioli.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
So the engines have fired, and we are ready to go racing this afternoon here at the Pocono Raceway. Welcome again, everybody, to NASCAR on TNT. With Kyle Petty and Wally Dallenbach, I'm Adam Alexander. And Wally, this is kind of like NASCAR's version of Extreme Makeover. They repaved this 2.5-mile triangle. Pit road's gotten a facelift. We're going from 500 miles to 400. What can we expect from drivers and teams today?
Well, it's really a lot of it's the unknown, but I think today what's going to be the key is pit lane. Not the drivers getting to pit lane and getting back up to speed, as well as the guys on pit lane. I think you're going to you're win or lose this race today in the pits. And also, you look at this, the concrete in the pits sometimes, Kyle. I've seen when they drop the cars, you see some broken axles sometimes when there's new pavement from concrete. So I think a lot of the action is going to happen right in pit lane today.
You look at recent history in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, Kyle, and you got to point to Jimmy Johnson. He's won 3 times in the last 4 weekends when you include his victory on All-Star Night. They're rolling. They've won here twice, but starting 24th. Can he drive to the front, or have they got to use strategy?
When was Jimmy Johnson not on a roll? I just want to, the man finishes like 10th, 11th, 12th, and they say, oh my God, it's the end of Jimmy Johnson and the Chad Knaus dynasty. You know, those guys have been on a roll. They've dug themselves out of a deeper hole than this. Let's go back to Daytona when they were penalized. They ran the first 2 or 3 races under the cloud of suspicion, or the cloud of suspension. I think when you look at it, they dug themselves out of that hole. 24th here, I'm not sure he's going to drive to the front. I'm going to agree with Wally. Everything's going to be done on pit road. A lot of passing is going to be done on pit road.
The second half of NASCAR's regular season begins today. Round 14 from Pocono. And you know, you can join the party. Go to the NASCAR community and access more commentary at twitter.com/#NASCAR. And you too can be a part of all the fun. We go racing. When we come back, we're glad you're with us on a Sunday afternoon in the Poconos for NASCAR on TNT.
This is how it will end for most.
It's a crappy weekend. I'm just tired of these same old things.
What makes the difference for the winner? It's decided long before the finish line. It can be the quick jump on the final restart, the seconds saved in the pits, or the simple fortune of avoiding the unpredictable pileup. But it's the work before the green flag drops that separates winning and losing. It's the testing and tuning that help a driver find the fastest line, the preparations and calculations that provide the extra boost of horsepower. With prior success paved over, no race this year will require a higher level of readiness than Pocono today. This track calls for balance, not just from turn to turn, but between driver skill and engineering mind. Because for every corner the car eases through, the driver will have to fight like hell to hang on in the next. Be prepared for the Pocono 400 next.
Turner Sports, proud to be covering NASCAR for the 30th consecutive year. Today, NASCAR on TNT with round 14 coverage of the Sprint Cup Series, live from Pocono Raceway. It is the Pocono 400, presented by #NASCAR. The drivers have rolled off, making their way around this 2.5-mile triangle. And guess who's in the pace car? Vanilla Ice, the Grand Marshal and honorary pace car driver today. He is leading the cars around the track. He'll be leading a cast of stars in the movie That's My Boy, Adam Sandler's new R-rated comedy. It's in theaters June 15th. Let's take a look at today's starting lineup. And we remind you once again, 36 of the drivers in today's field broke the old track record. Joey Logano, the fastest of them all. Joining him on row one, man who's won here at Pocono, that would be Carl Edwards. Paul Menard, Kyle Busch looking for their first victory in Long Pond, Pennsylvania in row two. Row three, Denny Hamlin, Mr. Pocono. He's won here 4 times. Mark Martin alongside, 6 runner-up finishes. Great qualifying effort for Regan Smith today. He sits alongside NASCAR's most popular driver, Dale Jr., who's been great so far in 2012. Row 5, the man who's always great at road courses, Marcus Ambrose, and Casey Kane, who has a victory here and comes in riding a 7 consecutive top 10 finish streak. Row 6, Jamie McMurray. This is a guy that needs something good to happen in 2012. So does the 4-time champion Jeff Gordon, who has 5 victories here, matching Bill Elliott for the most all-time. Greg Biffle, your championship leader, won here in August of 2010. He's in row 7. His teammate, 2nd place in the points, Matt Kenseth, starting alongside. Great qualifying effort for Landon Castle and Clint Boyer. They are in row 8. As you continue to take a look at today's starting field for the race here in Pocono, Wally gonna dial up driver 55.
I'm gonna dial up my pick today. Hey Mark, this is Wally in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey Wally.
All right, you have got an impressive record here. You finished 2nd 6 times. Quit messing around. Pull this thing into victory lane today. I know you can do it, because I'll tell you what, your car looks really good on the long runs from what I've seen.
Yeah, our car's been fast since we've been here, but you know, there's a lot of unknowns about this new pavement. It's a really nice job of pavement, but we're all going to be adapting to whatever this, you know, this thing throws at us with laying the rubber down as we go in the race. And hopefully we adjust to it sooner than our competition does.
I think you guys are going to be tough today. Good luck, Mark.
Thanks, Wally.
Mark Martin looking for his first win this season, and as we said, his first here at Pocono. Now a final word from the guys that will monitor the action on pit road. Let's go there now and start with Marty Snyder.
Well, Greg Biffle is still our championship leader, barely by 1 point over Matt Kenseth. And he told me earlier, he said, we've lost a little bit to the competition. We're trying to catch up to the competition, if you will, even though we're still in the championship lead. So testing at Pocono was perfect timing for us to catch up to those guys a little bit. He's actually looking forward to testing at Michigan as well, because he feels like they need to gain on the guys. The one thing he's worried about, how things will be on pit road today, where strategy could be crazy. Ralph?
Marty, as you can see on the scoring pylon, 4-time winner Denny Hamlin's going to start 5th here today. He's also the last guy to have swept both Pocono races back in 2006. I just asked crew chief Darian Grubb, what do I need to know? And he said, just be here at the end of the race. We're right next door to victory lane. Chris Neville.
Well, Ralph, when you're trying to find Jamie Mack's season, you can really just come up with challenging, but he's been quick all week. I talked to him right before he got in the car, and he said the car was good, but only on short runs. So last night they came up with a new setup. He's hoping that with these sunny skies and that mystery setup, hopefully that will turn his season around. Larry?
Well, Chris, you heard Marty Snyder talking about track position and strategy, and I think that's going to be huge all day long. Now, if you had a weak qualifying effort, you may already have adapted a new strategy before the green flag even flies, and Matt Yoakum is with the crew chief of the 3-time champ, qualified 22nd.
And Larry Max Stewart is just one of a couple big-name chase drivers mid-pack. And Steve Addington, is this a crew chief's dream day with so many different options to pull strategy-wise?
It'd been a dream day if we'd have had this off with Depot Mobile One Chevrolet starting a little bit further forward. But I mean, we feel pretty good about the balance of our cars. So we'll see how it plays out here. It's going to be tricky. You're going to see all kind of stuff pulled here today on pit road. 2 tires, no tires, 4 tires, just fuel only and stuff like that. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun to watch.
And the drama is about ready to commence. Adam?
Thank you, Matt. Take a look at the weather forecast for today here at Pocono. Perfect right now. Temperature in the low 80s, expected to go up around 85 degrees, actually 79 right now. And there is a slight chance of a shower later this afternoon, but no hint of it right now. Time now for the AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge. Text FAST to 34763 or go to attfastestdriver.com to pick who will be the fastest out of this week's top 4 qualifiers. And there you saw them. Joey Logano, Carl Edwards, Paul Menard, and Kyle Busch. You could win 4G's 4000 just by playing along. Brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network, AT&T. Rethink possible. And now our race analysis for this afternoon's Pocono 500, 400, presented by #NASCAR.
400 miles, yay!
400 miles, 160 laps. Pit road speed, 55 miles per hour. 26 to 30 laps the fuel window. Coming off turn 3 for the final time. And it will be quite a competition going down into turn 1 at speeds of over 200 miles per hour. The green flag in the air. We are underway, Pocono.
Oh, Denny Hamlin drove it in there and almost took out Carl Edwards.
Wow.
Oh, we got some smoke coming off one of these guys. Maybe a little contact there.
Looks like smoke off the rear of the 99 car.
Yeah, that's where Denny Hamlin got into him.
Yeah, it must have knocked the left rear fender into that left rear tire.
Carl, not going to be too happy about that.
Carl Edwards starting on the front row and already backpedaling here at Pocono. This on the heels of that tough break last week, running inside the top 5 at Dover. Joey Logano grabs the race lead. Off of turn 3, he will.
Somebody's got another down 3.
And that's trouble off the corner. It's going to be A.J. Allmendinger and Juan Pablo Montoya getting together.
I think that started a little bit maybe in front of those guys when we go back and see the replay, because we see the Burger King car there, 83. I think that is Landon Castle.
Yep.
I think he was involved early in it, and the other guys just got collected in it.
So Landon Castle, one of the drivers with heavy damage early in this race, had a great qualifying run here yesterday.
That's a great break for Carl Edwards.
Great break for Carl
Edwards. He was going to have to come to pit lane anyway.
This 56 car, the whole side is tore off it when we get a chance to look at this. This is the start of the race going into turn 1.
I mean, Denny got a great start, and he passed a bunch of cars. He just drove down there way hard.
Too wide, outside.
Split up the racetrack, got in the back of the 99. Carl just started back up, but he was definitely going to have to come to pit lane, or that tire was going to get cut.
This off turn 3.
We see Landon Castle already sideways at that point. He comes across, gets into the 56. You see the 22 go down into 2 or 3 cars were collected in that, or got a piece of that. Landon Castle appears to have the worst. And I think when we see the 56 of Martin Truex, he got slammed in the left side door.
This is a
or
great
right side door.
This is great. I was watching this while it was happening over here on our other monitor. Actually, I was watching out the front of the 39, but it wreck looked like it happened forever.
Yeah,
and it was sideways forever.
And we don't have a really good angle whether he got in, whether Landon got in and got outside that groove. We've talked about just being one groove right now with so much rubber down on the racetrack, whether he stepped out a little bit. We saw when Carl got hit and knocked outside of it, how free it was or how loose the car got up in the dirt. I don't know if Landon got out or got hit from behind.
Rode with Ryan Newman, now on board with Tony Stewart going into the corner.
And you see the left, the 22 car right up there gets involved in this.
Cousin Ben here, stay up there. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
It's really hard to tell. We see the 56 car. I mean, he got slammed. Luckily, he got hit right behind the right front tire. They can put metal on that and keep the car kind of arrow. I will call it kind of arrow, but we see the right front of the right front fender. It's still intact, so his nose is still intact. It's just, now what about the fumes? That's where the exhaust pipe is. That's where the crush panels. A lot of that. It's a long day for those guys to have to start working this quick.
You know, guys, the only thing I question, but I see two NASCAR officials there. It's always been my understanding you cannot run without that energy absorbent foam inside the door. I see they're putting the door panel on, but I did not see the foam in there.
And Larry, we're getting a report now that NASCAR will hold the 56 on pit road until they get the foam in the race car. Matt?
That's exactly what Martin Truex and the team was just told by NASCAR. They're going to have to hold the 56 in the pit box while they make continued repairs to the cosmetic damage, but they're going to have to put the foam inside the door.
Larry, let me ask you a question. We're talking about the energy absorbent foam. How many teams do you think carry an extra piece of that foam?
Honestly, what I see, Kyle, with all the major teams, they have spare foam for both sides.
Good.
They don't have to go take it out of the backup car, because really it's something you can't take out of a backup car with the door skin in place.
But it's something that you don't plan on replacing at the racetrack either.
Bottom of your screen, there you saw the foam coming out of the 56 car of Martin Truex Jr.
And to Wally's point, you see the 99 coming down pit road right here. Just as Wally said, that was a huge break for the 99 team.
And you look at some of the drivers that started outside the top 20 that we talked about earlier. Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart, Ryan Newman, all able to avoid the accident. Early problems at Pocono. Pole sitter Joey Logano leading Paul Menard and Marcus Ambrose with 3 laps complete.
NASCAR Sprint Cup racing from Pocono Raceway is brought to you by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. By American Ethanol Sweepstakes, enter for your chance to win one of 3 Chevy Silverados. By Walmart Choice Premium Beef, tender aged, USDA certified, and 100% guaranteed. By Toyota Care, caring for you and your car. And find a knowledgeable local farmers agent at farmers.com. We are insurance. We are farmers.
We are back at Pocono, half a lap from going green. First caution of the day coming out on lap 1 for an accident that happened over in turn 3 that started with Landon Castle.
Yeah, Landon's on the outside going into turn 3. That's probably not a whole lot of people have been there since they repaved this place, and he just lost it. He just, not a whole lot of grip up there. Got a little bit of sideways. Fortunately, he came down right into everybody else on the first lap, but there's not a whole lot you can do. He hit that wall pretty hard on the outside.
Martin Truex Jr. back on pit road. He lost the foam in the right side of that car, so they're fixing that problem. He was among the drivers penalized for pitting too soon. So were A.J. Allmendinger and Carl Edwards. Too fast on exit. A.J. Allmendinger hit again. Race leader Joey Logano and Paul Menard joins him on the front row. We restart, completing lap 5. And there will be a penalty for Carl Edwards, who had a cut tire going into turn 1 on the opening lap when he and Denny Hamlin got together. And he has been posted by NASCAR for not lining up properly on the restart. The problems continue.
Yeah, and that's just a little frustration and really miscommunication sometimes. They tell you where to go. And I'm sure he was frustrated to go into the corner on the outside second and come out, knowing he's going to go back to 43rd. I'm going to tell you, these first few laps, these guys are a lot more racy than I anticipated them being. I really thought they were just going to try to find that groove, but these guys are making stuff happen early.
But I think they realize that this thing could get strung out a little bit, and you got to get what you can get right now when you can. You know what I mean? And it's because nobody knows where you can pass right now.
And it's still
monkey too.
Yeah, it is. But you still see the same place. Somebody slips out a little bit in the corner. They get freight trained going over the tunnel turn right there. You saw one getting freight trained by about 3 or 4 cars led by Casey Kane.
Here you see Jeff Gordon, 5-time winner, 5 runner-up finishes in front of Mark Martin, who, as we pointed out earlier, has finished second here some 6 times. Gordon 8th right now after starting 12th, and Martin has settled into the 9th position.
Was there a communication? I'm asking. In Richmond, wasn't there a communication problem with NASCAR on the 99? Or was that somebody else?
Yes. Spotters told him one thing. Spotters told his spotter that he was the leader, even though they should have known they weren't the leader. See the 42. This is kind of coming out. I think this is coming out of turn 1 right here. See the 42 get up, gets into it with his right rear and drives it back into his front. That's why all these guys on the short chute between 1 and 2 and the tunnel turn, and that's why he continues to lose ground.
It's Clint Boyer right in front of Juan Pablo Montoya, and right behind him Jimmy Johnson, the 5-time champion, starting in the 24th position. 7 laps in, he's already worked his way up to 18th.
And I want to speak something to this car right here. While we see the 42 just drive around Clint Boyer, we saw the 42 of Juan Pablo hit the wall really pretty hard coming out of turn 1 over there. Catches it with the right rear, slaps it with the right front. In the older cars before this model car and this style car, if a guy had hit the wall that big, he'd be in the garage area. No camber in the right front, bent A-frames, all this. This is an incredibly tough car. It will take a thrashing. These guys run up against the wall, bounce off the wall. We've seen Kyle Busch do it, seen Jimmy Johnson do it, we've seen Carl Edwards do it. These cars will take a pretty good beating and continue on. And Juan obviously felt like he doesn't have a tire going down, so he's just back up on the wheel driving again.
Here's Jeff Gordon continuing his climb to the front to the inside of Regan Smith. And as that happens on track, the 22 of A.J. Allmendinger making a stop-and-go penalty. That for being too fast while on pit road a while ago. And here comes Montoya.
42. Yeah.
And we should remind everyone as we work lap 10, at lap 20 we will get a competition caution. Overnight rain washing the rubber off of this racetrack, and so NASCAR has elected to throw the competition caution as we look at Dale Earnhardt Jr. going after Greg Biffle for 5th on the racetrack.
And you bring up that competition caution. That's going to be important to guys like Carl Edwards, the 22 car of A.J. Allmendinger, and the 42 car of Juan, because who's going to get the lucky dog? Who's going to be in that position?
Or the wave around.
Or the wave around.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
9 laps complete. Joey Logano has led them all here at Pocono. Joey Logano leading at Pocono. Paul Menard, Jamie McMurray, Marcus Ambrose, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the top 5. 12 laps complete. 8 away from our competition caution. With that, time for our Ram No Guts, No Glory. Let's talk risk versus reward. We're going to see some strategy play out on pit road when we get our competition caution.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, well, but the thing is, I don't know how much, Larry can probably jump in here. I don't know how much you can do, that everybody else isn't going to do. But absolutely, you're going to see some different strategies here. Yeah.
And before we get the competition caution,
29.
We get one for J.J. Yaley, who hammered the wall. Some big-time damage there. Let's look back and see what happened. Again, coming off of turn 3.
Well, that's not J.J.
It's Reed Sorensen who got the wall.
Sorensen got into it first, and I think there you see Sorensen slide up, and it looks like J.J. just, all 3 of these guys slide up. I wonder if he blew an engine or something. That was kind of strange.
Yeah, it's
all
Tony
3
Raines.
of them slid up into the wall.
Tony Raines in the yellow 36, Reed Sorensen there in the white 32, and we showed you the damage for J.J. Yaley, who was already coming on to pit road.
Hey guys, talking about this competition caution, I still don't know that NASCAR is going to deem this caution as the competition caution. And the biggest reason, as you mentioned it, Adam, the rubber got washed off and there's a little concern about tire wear. But remember this, no matter how many times you pit prior to that competition caution, you cannot fuel the race car until that caution.
Larry, they call this place the Tricky Triangle. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, pick your poison. So far today, everything happening over in turn 3. Ralph?
Well, Landon Castle was a part of the first caution of the day. Landon, what happened?
Man, it's just, sometimes when you try to take it easy at the beginning, you can get yourself in trouble. So, it doesn't even, it doesn't even matter who's, who did what or where. how it happened. I just hate this. I feel like I just kind of lost it getting into 3 there, and it's just too bad for this team. We worked really hard on this car and this setup all for 3 days and got it really good and qualified 15th. But I think we'll have something to take to Michigan. I just really hate it. This is two really tough weeks in a row for my guys, and to have wrecked race cars is a reflection on me. So I'm gonna go back and do my work and make sure that I can get this thing going a little bit better.
Hey, Larry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's lap 14. Why not come in and put 4 tires on it right now? And then when the competition caution comes out, just put fuel in it. Wouldn't that give you track position?
Well, it would, Wally, but I just right now, we have no laps hardly on these tires, because remember the first 5 laps, we only had 1 green flag lap, and then we only ran, about 7 to 8 green flag laps. And I've been told all week long, actually, the more laps you put on these tires, the better they grip. So I'm not sure that we're going to see anything but a lot of drivers putting fuel only in when we get to that competition caution.
In this second caution we've had early today, a big break for both Carl Edwards and Juan Pablo Montoya, who catch up to the field, and it's equally as good for A.J. Allmendinger. A part of that first caution earlier today on lap 1, he gets his lap back, receiving the free pass under caution. Allmendinger now scored in the 39th position, Edwards 34th, Montoya 36th, to give you an idea of where they are in the running order early on. Just tuned in, saying, what happened to Carl Edwards? Didn't he start in the front row? Yes, he did. Opening lap of the race, Denny Hamlin hard into turn 1, got into Carl Edwards, cut left rear tire. Edwards lost a ton of positions on track, received a penalty on pit road and a restart penalty, and now finds himself deep in the field.
Did he pay that off?
I believe so.
So this yellow saved him twice in the first 15 laps.
It's interesting. 73 cautions, first 13 races of the year. We've had 2 in the first 15 laps here at Pocono, and we know we got another one coming, the competition caution. Let's see what people are tweeting about today. Jeff Gordon saying, caution out, big rep. Wow, this blank place is slick. Gordon was not involved in the crash, and if you want more NASCAR content, you can go join the NASCAR community. It's twitter.com/#NASCAR. 15 laps on the board at Pocono. Joey Logano, Paul Menard, Jamie McMurray, Marcus Ambrose, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., your top 5. Back at Pocono, pit stops complete. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Paul Menard fired. And he got a little free on the exit, and then it got a little tight in the center as that run went on. So they just changed right side tires, Matt.
Impressive early run by Marcos Ambrose in the 9 car. He hit pit road in 4th. He said the car was, if anything, a little free on entry, but no changes whatsoever, just fuel only, Marty.
Joey Logano hit pit road, a very slight change, air pressure to try and tighten up the car a little bit. His front tire changer literally had to jump out of the way, and it was a 3-wide battle to the line, Adam, to see who won that race off pit road. I believe might have been Paul Menard.
Well, unofficially, we showed that it was Joey Logano, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Paul Menard, and now that apparently is the case. While Logano was 3rd in the running order coming off pit road after resetting at the out, it was Logano who is the race leader. We'll reset the field when we return. Welcome back to Pocono Raceway. Under caution, this will serve as the scheduled lap 20 competition caution. Top 3 on the racetrack, Jamie McMurray, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin. They did not pit here under caution. Joey Logano, the first off pit road, will restart in the 4th position, and they had a close call on pit road there, Marty.
Trying to go. Yes, they did, Adam. They had a very close call on pit road. John Royer had a little bit of a miscue, but how about that jump right there and the acrobatics, and even stuck the landing. I give him a 9.9 on that, Adam. Don't you? Very nice job. And who says it's not a game of inches at 200 miles an hour? And that is what won Joey Logano the race off pit road, barely over a couple of other guys. So John down here high-fiving his guys right now, or actually they're high-fiving him, Adam.
Quite a leap. Penalized for too fast exiting, Clint Boyer. He will restart in the 34th position. The American Ethanol Sweepstakes is happening now. Log on to NASCAR.com/AE Sweeps to enter for your chance to win one of 3 Chevrolet Silverados. American Ethanol, American grown, American made, powering NASCAR. So you look at the top 10 of the guys who came down pit road. 5 of them no tires, 5 of them 2 tires. What do you make of that, gentlemen?
I'm surprised that you'd stay out there, because you're going to have to come in for gas in another 8 laps.
Yeah,
or 9 laps.
You know, and Larry has spoken to this and talked about this, that once we got to the halfway point, these guys may start implementing that strategy. Maybe some of these other cars early on are just starting that strategy where they're just going to pit under green.
Yeah.
Hey guys, when I look at McMurray, Keselowski, and Hamlin in particular, they may already be thinking of running this race backwards.
Yep.
Because right there, being near the front, you can make a pit stop and not lose a lap under green.
Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin both pitted under caution back at lap 3. McMurray, Keselowski out front on the restart. We get it at lap 20. Tony Stewart, no stranger to aggression, making his way to the inside. Denny Hamlin got inside of Brad Keselowski for the runner-up position. Dale Jr. in 4th. Logano and Ambrose battling behind him.
Oh,
what was that?
Somebody got down in the dirt right there. Wow. That was pretty wicked right there. I don't know if it was these 2 cars, because Marcus had made a dive bomb move right there on the 20 car right as they got to 3.
I didn't know you could get to the dirt without going over a curb.
I didn't either, because it is, they put, since the repaving, they've added that curb. We see it right, or the flat, the apron. You see them as they come into turn. There's Marcus diving in the corner.
It's Menard.
Oh, it's behind them. It is behind them right before we get to that little bit of apron right there.
Yeah.
They just clipped it. And you see these guys getting real wide.
This should be a great shot right here.
Oh. Wow.
Hey, Greg Biffle, 0 visibility.
Yeah. I'd save that move for the last lap.
Yeah.
Paul Menard, the man that hit the grass, he's 7th.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give Joy a shout out here. These guys, he was the first car that pitted. First car off pit road, 7th or 8th in line. And he has made a couple of moves and passed a couple of cars. He just got around Dale Jr. there. We talked in the opening, we've talked about how hard it is to get around this place and how hard it is to pass. These guys are making it stick and making it work right now.
Yeah, you know, it seems like, Kyle, over here, 1 or 2, unless you get on the apron like the 18 just did. It looks like they're pretty able to get side by side and run pretty good there, as well as the 2. Here's the pass for the lead. Denny Hamlin taking it over from Jamie McMurray.
They weren't side by side very long, were they?
Yep.
No, they really weren't. But we heard these guys talk about give and take. They were really concerned about that outside groove. And evidently the 11 car, Denny Hamlin, got a really strong run off turn 1, got a good run down that short chute before the tunnel. And Jamie realized, might as well roll out of this thing. I don't want those guys behind us to catch up.
Here in turn 3 is where there's not a second groove yet. If you get out of that bottom lane, you're going to lose some positions.
Yeah,
McMurray's dropped back to the runner-up position, Chris.
Yeah, and you guys were wondering if that was pit strategy, that call for him to not come down pit lane. Actually, that was communication miscue. Initially, crew chief Kevin Mannion was telling Jamie, hey, let's stay out on this one. But at the last minute, he told Jamie, come to pit lane. But at that point in time, it was too late. So they had to stay out on the racetrack. But that mystery setup obviously working pretty well. Jamie's gone from 11th to 3rd before the caution. The car right now just a little bit tight.
Like Larry was saying earlier, it could work to his advantage if things fall right.
McMurray, the only guy in the race that is yet to make a pit stop. We've completed 23 laps, and Larry told us earlier the pit window somewhere between 26 and 30.
How about the 2 car?
The 2 car and the 11 pitted at lap 3 under that opening caution.
But Keselowski, Brad still has the same fuel load as McMurray was.
Because
they couldn't fuel.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Good point.
because they
couldn't fuel till they got the competition caution.
Right.
Exactly. So Hamlin, McMurray, and Keselowski, for all intents and purposes, are on the same cycle. Denny Hamlin, the race leader. McMurray and Keselowski right behind him. And Joey Logano, who started on the pole and was the man early in this race, is fourth. Dale Earnhardt Jr. right behind him. Ambrose, Menard, Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, and Mark Martin make the top 10. Curious how Jimmy Johnson is doing. Started 24th. He's up to 12th. Denny Hamlin's won at Pocono 4 times. The new pavement not bothering him. He's out front with 24 laps complete. NASCAR on TNT back at the Pocono Raceway. 28 of 160 laps complete. Denny Hamlin is the race leader. And our Grand Marshal today, Vanilla Ice. He's on Twitter. Wally. Here's what he had to say about Denny Hamlin taking the race lead.
What was that, Adam?
Now let's go through the field. Brought to you by McDonald's. Ralph?
All right, well, we'll kick it off down here with Denny Hamlin. He had that scare early on in the race as he got together with Carl Edwards. They made the pit stop. They fixed that right front. Since then, it's been very smooth. The car has been very fast. He's up front, Chris, and looking solid.
Well, Kelvin Mannion telling Jamie McMurray that he's the quickest car out there. He's catching the leader, and he's doing it with one of the oldest cars in their fleet. Typically, these teams only run a car for just a handful of races, but that car did 5 races last year, 2 races this year, and a whole bunch of testing, and estimated over 3,000 miles on that car.
And going back to his pre-race strategy, Paul Wolf, Brad Keselowski crew chief, called some strategy there, kept Brad out for track position, trying to get that blue deuce closer to the front for cleaner air. His mirror right now is full of the 20 car. Marty?
And that 20 car is Joey Logano right behind him, who told me on Friday, I honestly think we have a chance to win this race. So far, very strong for Logano. Again, the 2 tires on that last stop, a little bit loose. He took a ½ pound out of the right rear behind him. Dale Earnhardt Jr. told me in Countdown to Green, listen, we're putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to win. So far, very good for Jr. in this race. They took no tires, fuel only on that last stop. His only complaint, just a little bit too loose getting into turn 3. Matt?
And a guy who served his presence very well at Charlotte, ran a number of laps up at the point, and then had a mechanical failures. Marcos Ambrose, again, having a stellar run here at Pocono. His crew chief Todd Perry, 2 wins on his racing resume, would like to add a 3rd. He says the car, if anything, a tick free on entry. Marty?
While we're waiting on the Vanilla Ice tweet, Matt, I'll tell you what, Jeff Gordon tweeted earlier, and we saw it. He said, man, this place is awfully slick. The problem is they have a ton of tape on the front grille. They pulled 1 piece to get the water temp down last time. Gordon just said we need to pull another piece. Now our oil temp's going too high. Chassis-wise, not handling like it was on the last run. Matt?
Well, Marty, I'm going to jump out. And actually with the 27 of Paul Menard, who was looking pretty good earlier on today, he's been dealing with a loose situation over there in turn 3. That's been his trouble corner. They changed those right side tires, made some air pressure adjustments, trying to get that car to work they need it. As far as the 18 goes, that would be Kyle Busch. He's right behind him. They say he isn't saying much at all on the radio. Very comfortable with his 18 right now. Matt.
And the guy who dominated here in 2004, swept both races, is Jimmy Johnson. He just climbed into the top 10. He started the day back in 24th. He says that the car, if anything, a little on the snug side, but in Jimmy's words, he says this car is really, really good. Keep an eye on the 48, Larry Mack.
Matt, our points leader coming in here, Greg Biffle, he's led the points for 11 consecutive races. He qualified 13th, but I looked up right about the time we had that first caution. He had already moved into the top 5. They elected to go with fuel only on that last pit stop. He is now on the verge of falling outside the top 15, back in 15th. Ralph.
Well, getting ready now for green flag pit stops. Here comes the 11 of Denny Hamlin down pit road. Now orders from Darian Grubb. No changes. 4 tires, fuel. That's all they want for the 11, Matt. He's in good shape right now.
And the blue deuce, Brad Keselowski. You can already see the chassis adjustment has already been completed. 4 tires on this 2 car. Trying to get the left sides on. A little tweak, trying to get this balance better for Brad. He is away.
And these would be scheduled green flag pit stops. These drivers pitted at lap 3, but were unable to fuel the car because of the NASCAR competition caution. So they were scheduled to come in at this time for fuel. Jamie McMurray now the race leader, and this is the battle for second behind him. Joey Logano and Dale Jr. Chris?
Well, Jimmy going one more lap than the 11 and the 2 on this stop. They're going to make an air pressure change to both front tires. Jamie saying the car a little bit tight down in turn 1 and 2, and then a little bit loose off 3. So 4 tires of fuel for the 1.
McMurray, another one of the drivers that had not gotten service yet today. He comes down here at lap 33, and is Brad Keselowski left pit road too fast exiting?
What does that make today?
That's at
like
least
8
6
or
or
9
7.
guys.
Yeah, that's about 6 or 7 guys that have been caught speeding today. Remember, they repaved pit road just as they repaved the racetrack. They they reinserted the timing lines. I'm not sure these guys know where the timing lines are, because it's almost like they think the lines are in one place and the lines are somewhere else, because there's been a lot of people that you just wouldn't expect. Some of those guys during those early pit stops, I understood.
8 speeding penalties at Pocono one year ago, already 6 this afternoon. Dale Jr. got around Joey Logano. He's now second in the running order, and the race leader is we got McMurray making his pit stop.
Wow, Jeff really got close to the bumper of Ambrose right there.
But you know, I'm going to say something about Junior here. We got to give Junior a little bit of a shout out. These guys are the guys that have pitted. They're on a different pit cycle. You know, those other guys, they got to just be panicking. All of a sudden, they stay out. They have to run an extra 5 or 6 laps under green. Now, if they're on the strategy like Larry talks about, they're okay. But if you remember earlier, we showed the 20 car passing the 88 for position after that restart. The 88 obviously found its legs and came back and got around the 20 car.
And with those green flag pit stops, Marty, driver 88 now on the point.
Yeah, and when he passed Joey Logano, he made it look fairly easy, guys. And remember, Dale Earnhardt Jr. on that last stop took no tires. So a lot of people up and down pit road taking note of that. Joey Logano put 2 tires on the last stop. Dale Earnhardt Jr., none. On pit stops again, probably about 8-10 laps. You guys have to hit pit road once again, guys.
Jimmy Johnson on the move.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like we kind of expected. He's flying.
Johnson started in the 24th position this afternoon. It took him 35 laps to move up to 6th. It's his teammate, Dale Earnhardt Jr., on the point at Pocono. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. 38 laps into the 160 that make up today's event. 2 cautions for 9 laps. 4 leaders. And we've had 4 lead changes on the point right now. There's Dale Earnhardt Jr. And while we were away, his teammate Jeff Gordon able to get around Joey Logano for the runner-up position. Marcus Ambrose and another Hendrick car, Jimmy Johnson, completing the top 5.
Wow. And I'm going to tell you, watching the scoring monitor here, Dale Jr. is faster than everybody by...
Yeah, almost 2 miles an hour.
Yeah, almost 2 miles an hour when you start looking, comparing it to some of these guys. I mean, he didn't just pass Joey. This is a Hendrick-esque performance right here. I mean, he's just driving away like Jimmy Johnson usually does.
Kenseth has been pretty fast. I've been watching his lap times over about the last 5 or 6 laps. He's been consistently in the 170-mile-per-hour range.
Kenseth started in the 14th position today after going around Kyle Busch, is up to 7th. And tell you what, Paul Menard hanging in there early on, still running up in the top 10. Meanwhile, problems for Kyle Busch a moment ago, got a little wide.
Yeah, I think this was right after the 17 had gotten around him. This is across the tunnel turn. You see he's inside there, and he gets just far enough outside the line right here that it pushes up and just scrapes it.
But this is he does this every week. I mean, it doesn't really affect them a whole lot.
And honestly, that's typical Pocono.
Yeah.
From every year, every generation, every era they ever run here, that wall was always had plenty of marks on it. Yeah, Matt is on the move. As we're watching Kyle Busch right here, but just in front of him, you see Matt. He's driven up there and got ahead of the 27 car of Paul Menard.
Another driver doing some nice things early today, Ryan Newman. He started back in the 18th position, has worked his way inside the top 10. Now we got some green flag pit stops. Jeff Gordon leading the parade. Let's check in downstairs.
Adam, let the strategy begin. Matt, I believe you're first with the 9 car.
And Marcos Ambrose making his way down to Todd Parrott. Basically, the car is a little free. They're going to try to adjust that. Also change 4 tires. He stopped a little deep in the box. The gas man had to take a couple extra steps. The guy who didn't want to see Ambrose pit, though, Marty, was the 48 of Johnson. He was hoping to get close, trying to change the air off the nose and get the debris. He's making his water temperature climb. How about the 24, Marty?
I was going to say, let the strategy begin. Todd Parrott and Alan Gustafson making the first move to pit road here. 4 tires and fuel for Jeff Gordon. A slight air pressure adjustment. Car was a little bit loose, but he was fairly happy with it. They did pull that tape off the grill. Also a tear off the windshield for Jeff Gordon. And Jeff Gordon too fast entering. That's going to hurt, guys.
I mean, it's just every time somebody comes down, they're getting nailed for this.
Yeah, I'm going to say there is something wrong with some of this scoring loops and something to have that many people this early in a race. I don't care.
7th penalty of the day as Jimmy Johnson makes his way down pit road. Ryan Newman, Kevin Harvick, the others getting service under green.
You could see the debris on the grill of the 48. A crank of the wedge wrench there trying to tighten up JJ's car. Going to work on the left side. Meanwhile, the 14 of Stewart is in. He's looking to go possibly right side tires. We'll see if they go on that, Marty.
Ryan Newman's car too tight. You see the wedge adjustment. They also clean the grill for Newman, leaving pit road now with 4 fresh tires.
Regan Smith has made a stop, as has the 51 of David Rudiman, and there you see Jeff Gordon coming past the scoring pylon, paying his debt to NASCAR. Too fast on pit road, and here's the man that started on the pole, Joey Logano, scheduled green flag service at lap 43, Marty.
Well, he lost a couple of positions, Adam. He said the car was just way too tight on the exit of every corner. Jason Ratcliffe, his crew chief, did warn him, go very slowly, be very conservative. Coming down pit road, he'll hit pit road here. It'll be 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment for Joey Logano trying to loosen that car up, Ralph.
Well, Paul Menard, Kyle Busch pitting together. 4 tires for both, fuel for both, and chassis adjustments for both cars. No grip is the scream coming out of Kyle Busch. I've got no grip. No word from Menard. I'm way too tight, especially in 3.
Okay, this is where, with all these speeding penalties right now, because the driver doesn't know it, this is where the crew chief needs to tell the driver, you need to come in slower than normal because everybody's getting nailed on this thing. So whatever your RPMs were, you need to drop them down 400 or 500 RPMs, because we just had some more guys got nailed.
Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, now all on the list of those that have been caught speeding on pit road as Dale Jr. comes down, Marty.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. does hit pit road. Steve Letarte reminding him, make sure you're careful with your speeding penalty or speeding coming down pit road. We do not need a penalty here. It's just going to be 2 tires for Dale Earnhardt Jr. You see the track bar adjustment going down is a little bit loose for Dale Earnhardt Jr. They're waiting on the fuel. They get it full. He leaves pit road. They did get it full, I can confirm, but just 2 tires for Jr. Remember, they changed none on the first stop, Adam.
The service for Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming at lap 44. He is 5th in the running order, and Jimmy Johnson, who came down to pay his debt, was caught speeding again.
Those guys don't make those mistakes twice normally, so something's up.
What's up, Chris?
Well, Jimmy Fitting telling Matt Kenseth, do not speed. They are busting people left, right, and center down here, so really watch your speed coming in. They were initially going to make an air pressure adjustment to the front of this car because he said it was a little bit tight down in turns 1 and 2, but then they decided not to do that. 4 tires and fuel on the 17.
Here's the thing, you set your pit road speed by your RPMs, and normally when you come in there, I know these guys are manipulating the lines a little bit, but to bust this many guys, a driver's not going to be that much faster time and time again.
Time and time again. There's not to have gotten this many people this quick. And a variety of people. It's not just 1 or 2 people. It's people from every team. It's all this. There's got to be something that's amiss in the scoring, or in that. And when you look at it, and the other thing is this: when a crew chief says, "Watch your pit road speed," how in God's name do you know to watch your pit road speed? Because it's wrong. When you followed the pace car and you thought it was 4,500 RPMs and you come in at 45.
That's why I'm saying the crew chief should tell me go 500 RPMs less than what we thought it was, just to be safe.
And you know, guys, pit road speed is 55 miles per hour, and NASCAR gives them an additional 5 which gives them up to 60 miles per hour. That means they're exceeding even that mark.
Okay, Larry, do you remember a time when this many people got caught this quick?
We had, I think it may have been Richmond a few years ago, Kyle. There was something going on with the timing lines, and I think it really showed up in the Nationwide Series race. This was a few years ago, but never do I remember this many.
David Rudiman driving through, pass-through penalty, actually a stop and go, too fast, exiting a moment ago, and you see Greg Biffle getting his service. That was his scheduled green flag stop, first time he had been in since back at lap 17. Now let's hear from some of the drivers questioning these speeding penalties.
Yep, bring it back down here, Jimmy. Too fast exiting pit road. No way. Yeah, well, bring it down here. But my nose gets the line, I can accelerate, right? Yes, 10-4.
And Jimmy Johnson, you heard the consternation and frustration coming from the cockpit of the 48. And Chad Canal said earlier also, I just simply do not know what's going on. They believe it is section 10 on pit road where everyone is getting busted. In fact, Kevin Harvick said every light on his dashboard was in the green, so he doesn't know how slow he's going to have to slow up when he hits pit road again.
So, Matt, are you saying that these are all happening in one section?
The different cars in my area that have had issues, they're telling their driver it's all in that section near the end of pit road.
Well, then there's something wrong. I have to be wrong there with the light.
And here's a tweet from Samantha Bush, the wife of Kyle. Add us to the list of pit road speeding penalties, along with a 24, 48, and about 7 others in this race. If you want to be a part of the NASCAR family, go to twitter.com/#NASCAR. David Reagan had taken over the race lead. He now comes to pit road to get his green flag service at lap 48. Denny Hamlin now out front at Pocono. It has been a wild afternoon so far. We're back after a break on TNT.
Adam Sandler here. Andy Samberg and I have a new movie coming out called That's My Boy.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
What are you doing? They said that hours ago.
Keep those engines running.
That's My Boy opens June 15th.
And don't shut those engines
All right,
off.
stop it. It's a race. NASCAR, TNT.
Let's take an inside look at what's happening now in the Sprint Cup Series. Get unlimited access with live in-car audio and real-time stats on the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile Android app, only from Sprint. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Today's biggest mover, Eric Almirola, 29th to 12th in the running order. And there you see Denny Hamlin, one of the 8 lead changes we have seen today. He is currently the man on point, although he is on a different strategy. His last pit stop at lap 32, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in second right now, came down at lap 44. While we were going to break, we completed a cycle of green flag stops. David Reagan was leading, came down for his service. He was penalized. The 11th driver to be penalized speeding on pit road today. 13 different times it's happened. Jimmy Johnson caught twice, A.J. Allmendinger caught twice, and we should point out Jimmy Johnson, the first car 1 lap down in the 27th position.
But the thing is, and we've heard the same thing from Jimmy Johnson, the same thing from the 24 car of Jeff Gordon, the same thing from the 29 of Kevin Harvick. My lights are green. There's no way I'm speeding. Everybody's been caught in the last segment on pit road. So there's a couple of things here. Either these drivers are lying and they're speeding, okay? Or the lines are in a different place and the teams don't know where those lines are. And these guys are accelerating before they get to the line.
But you get a map of where the lines are.
You're supposed to get a map. I'm not saying the map is right, though.
Right.
You know, have you ever been lost with a map? I've been lost plenty of times with a map. Okay. But it's almost like there's something amiss in the last box.
Absolutely.
When you start looking at this many different teams from this many different drivers having that exit thing, that exit penalty, it's like, are they going off the cone? Are they going off the line? Where do they know they're not sure where that line is?
There's no doubt there's something wrong down there because there's too many guys getting busted for the same thing.
And the problem is, because if Kevin Harvick's light is green when he comes in, green when he goes down pit road, green when he goes for 2/3 or 3/4 of pit road, and then it's still green and he's getting caught,
and you have 5 miles per hour,
and he's getting caught speeding, then how can that be right? How can that be right? So either Kevin's not telling us the truth, but I don't think Kevin would do that in this situation, and especially Jimmy. Jimmy got busted twice. So when you look at it, there's got to be something in that last
exiting twice.
Yeah,
and all these guys are getting busted for exiting.
So when you look at it, there's something in that segment that's sending a false signal or sending some kind of signal that's telling NASCAR these guys are over that limit.
Denny Hamlin leads this race. In third, Jamie McMurray. They're off sequence. They're running the same strategy. Larry, what do you have for us?
Well, when I look at Denny Hamlin in the 11, who's leading the race, and Jamie is running third right now, if they go to lap 64 before they make their green flag stop, if we don't get a caution, which is about 9 or 10 laps from now, I think they're doing exactly what we talked about at the top of the show in the countdown to green, because if they go to lap 64, that means we know they can run 32 laps on a tank of fuel. They have then turned it into a two-stop race. But if I'm Kevin Mannion and Darian Grubb, the crew chief of those drivers, the biggest thing I'm going to tell them, you guys have been talking about it, I don't worry about the lights. Look at the tack and back it down about 500 RPM. That could be the key to winning this race.
How fast is Jimmy Johnson? A lap down, and he's driving around the cars inside the top 5. Here he goes around Jamie McMurray. McMurray currently third in the running order. This puts Johnson some 7 seconds behind race leader Denny Hamlin.
Well, that's what's so frustrating for these guys. They've got a winning car, and they're feeling like they've got nailed for something that they really didn't do twice.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm sure he's driving pretty hard right now.
I'm not sure.
Because he's mad.
Yeah, as hot as the Hendrick organization has been, and Jimmy Johnson in particular, I'm not sure you want to make him mad at this early in the race, because he's just as likely to lap the field.
But here's the other thing, and it's something you pointed out earlier, Kyle. I mean, guys make mental mistakes. I don't care how many championships you've won. You don't make them more than once, and Jimmy got caught twice.
But here's the deal, and I understand what Larry's saying. I understand what everybody's saying and the crew chiefs are saying. Just back it down a couple of hundred RPMs. Well, if I come in and my green light's on and I'm at 4,500, and I'm at 4,500 all the way down pit road, and I don't get busted on entry, middle, I only get busted on exit at 4,500, why should I back it down 200? I mean, I know I need to back it down so I won't get busted, don't get me wrong, but there's got to be something wrong in that place.
But that's where these guys got to give them a little bit more information on what's going on. Crew chiefs to drivers.
Exactly.
Interesting day here at Pocono. Denny Hamlin, the man who leads him, Dale Jr., Jamie McMurray, Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano, the top 5. Welcome back to Pocono Raceway. Dale Earnhardt Jr. taking over the race lead while we were away, getting by Denny Hamlin. It's time now for KFC Fresh Off the Wire. The big story today, something we alluded to in Countdown to Green, pit road, how important it would be. 13 speeding penalties today among 11 different drivers, the record since they began keeping that stat. 14 at Kansas back in October of 2006. For more Fresh Off the Wire presented by KFC, visit NASCAR.com. Denny Hamlin riding in the second position after starting up in 5th. We checked on the painted line versus timing line, and they are correctly matched. Issue is with speed on last timing segment. Hashtag NASCAR. That from Joe Gibbs Racing via Twitter. And if you want more NASCAR content, go to twitter.com/#NASCAR. So let's reset things for you here. 61 laps complete. Dale Earnhardt Jr., we told you, has taken over the race lead. Denny Hamlin rides second, although he is on a different strategy. He came to pit road last, some 12 laps earlier than Dale Jr. Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray, and Joey Logano, Seed Racing here, finish out the top 5. Marcus Ambrose is 6th. Paul Menard, Mark Martin, Casey Kane, and Ryan Newman complete the top 10. Other drivers that we've seen a lot of today, Jeff Gordon, one of those caught speeding, Kyle Busch, they are both outside the top 20. And Jimmy Johnson, who had a very good race car, driving from 24th to 5th. The first car 1 lap down. He scored back in the 27th position.
Now if he just stays there, he'll get the lucky dog if we get a caution, and he's right back in this thing. Hey, Kenseth is still cranking out some pretty good laps. He's sitting in 3rd spot right now, about 5 seconds behind the leader.
Send it down to Larry McReynolds and our torque presented by Toyota. Can the tour car answer some of these questions, Larry?
Well, I think I can show you what some of the drivers are dealing with. We've already talked about pit road speed here at Pocono is 55 miles per hour. They give them up to almost 60 miles per hour. Now, if you go back to when Kyle and Wally was driving, they actually had to look at the tack and look at the numbers. Now, I want you to look at our spec gauge here by Pro Parts. Right now, we've got it set on 4,200. If you see, we have 7 green lights there. That means he's okay. But as he accelerates, you'll see the lights start turning red. Now, remember, pit road speed is measured in time over distance. So when you get those red, what the driver has to do is go way back and get it back in the yellow. And hopefully he doesn't exceed the time, Matt, that you have in that segment.
There we go. Absolutely. The 2 car of Brad Keselowski, Larry Mack, he already came down and pitted. So he is away. Remember, he's one of the first cars that hit pit road under the cycle.
So Jamie McMurray has gotten his service here. We also saw Brad Keselowski on pit road. Those 2 were on the same game plan, as was Denny Hamlin.
He's not getting up to speed.
Off the speed.
Something's wrong there.
Out of fuel, maybe. Is he out of fuel, Ralph?
Well, the 11 is out of fuel. He's trying to make his way around to the pits. The crew is waiting for him. Hamlin just trying to get the car down pit lane to the service of his crew. They're waiting on him. It's just going to be a long run around, guys.
Boy, that's a deal killer right there. You run out of gas at Pocono and you lose you lose so much track position.
He was second. He last pitted at lap 32. Now we're hearing it may be a battery problem.
Well, after a 4 count, 3, 2, 1.
Go, Ralph.
Denny Hamlin is in. They've been dealing with some issues with this car as far as it not handling the way he needs it to. It's been getting tight in the middle of the run, especially in the center of the corner. So they're going to change 4 times with fuel, and they're making air pressure adjustment.
Be interested to see what he lost on the track once he gets back going, but there'll be a ton. Looks like he ran out going into 2.
And now we get a caution, our 3rd one of the day.
Which, if Denny's not a lap down, puts him in a great place.
I
think he is a lap down.
Okay. Right in the center of the tunnel.
Looks like Allmendinger got a piece of the wall.
Scoring monitor showing that Hamlin is the 2nd car 1 lap down. And here's A.J. Allmendinger. Been a tough day for him, involved in an accident on the opening lap of the race, and this one looks to be a little more difficult to deal with.
Yeah, he's already in the wall at that time. It's hard to tell whether he cut a tire or got some. And as you guys said, remember he was already.
What the heck was that? It was way. Yeah, I think he went. When he got in the dirt, it kicked him up the racetrack.
And that could well have been. He could have cut in the corner way too soon and sent himself up the racetrack.
He was running in the 19th position. This accident happened over in the tunnel turn. The other 2 problems we had today coming off turn 3. 66 laps complete. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano, Marcus Ambrose, and Paul Menard, the top 5. Mark Martin, Casey Kane, Ryan Newman, Jeff Burton, and Eric Almirola are the top 10.
I'm going to tell you something. He hit, as we see him get out of the car, he sat there for a while to catch his breath and get that and walks over to the wall and kneels down. That's a tough place to hit. That tunnel turn is a tough place to hit. You know, through the years, there's been guys like Bobby Allison's whose career ended over there. My father broke his neck over there, broke a wheel. It's just such a bad angle to hit. The soft wall is tremendous because in this situation, for him to be able to walk away is a tribute to the soft wall and to these cars.
So A.J. Allmendinger will climb in the ambulance. Anytime you cannot drive your car back to the garage or pit area, you have to go to the infield care center. A.J. will do that. Good to see him walking from the race car, albeit a bit gingerly. Looking here at the scoring monitor right now, showing Dave Blaney is the first car 1 lap down, which would mean he gets the free pass. Jimmy Johnson does not. So Dale Earnhardt Jr. putting Blaney a lap down. That's a tough break for his teammate. Chris, here they come.
Yeah, once again, Jimmy Fitting telling Matt Kenseth, Keep it below 4,500 RPM. We don't want to get busted for speeding here. Matt Kens is saying the car just a little bit tight in the corners. Real good down in turn 1, but he wants to get through turn 3 better. They're going to do an air pressure change on both front tires. Marty?
Dale Earnhardt Jr., this will be the first time all day long they've put on 4 tires, and it'll be the first time he has new left side tires on. A very slight air pressure adjustment to deal with that, because I think the car will be a little bit freer this time, but it will be 4 tires for Dale Earnhardt Jr., who had no complaints with the chassis. In front of him, Joey Logano. It'll be 4 tires for him, who says he's in a 4-wheel drift. Junior will win the race off pit road among those who took 4, but Casey Kane wins the race off overall, Adam.
Casey Kane has spent a good deal of time outside the top 10 today. 2-tire stop gains him 5 spots. Greg Biffle up 9 positions. We'll reset the running order when we return to Pocono on TNT.
Catch our new movie, That's My Boy, opening June 15th.
What are you doing? Why so loud?
I want them to hear my voice over the roar of the engines.
It's a commercial.
I only act at 1 speed, Adam.
Okay, back to NASCAR on TNT.
TNT!
Under caution for the 3rd time today here at the Pocono Raceway. 68 laps complete. Jamie McMurray, who had pitted under green at lap 63, did not pit under this caution. He is the race leader. Casey Kane and Greg Biffle both took 2 tires, running 2nd and 3rd. Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt Jr. the top 5. 14 drivers have been caught speeding today on pit road, and here's the final segment. Wally?
Yeah, this line right there, which is basically the last pit box, and that line.
And that's where the drivers getting caught speeding off pit road have been getting nabbed today. Jeff Burton, the most recent to get caught speeding on pit road. We're going to step aside while we're under caution. We'll get back to green when we return. You're watching NASCAR on TNT. Now let's update our AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge. Among the top 4 qualifiers today, Joey Logano best in the running order. He is currently scored in the 6th position. Remember to text FAST to 34763 or visit attfastestdriver.com. You could win 4G's $4,000. AT&T, rethink possible. We'll get the restart as we complete lap 71. Jamie McMurray, who pitted under green at lap 63, the race leader. Casey Kane, Greg Biffle, Mark Martin, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. your top 5. And we told you about Joey Logano. He goes in the 6th position. Jimmy Johnson did take the wave around. As we told you, Dave Blaney got the free pass. 6 cars in all took the wave around here under caution. Jeff Burton, who was penalized for speeding on pit road a moment ago, going to have a pass-through penalty for not letting up in the proper spot.
You know what? I'm not coming to the pits the rest of the day.
What does not letting up in the proper spot mean?
That's the word we got.
What does that mean?
Here comes Jamie McMurray.
You're just ignoring
up
me.
On the restart.
Letting up in the proper spot. No,
yeah.
Lining up.
Lining up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
He knew what he was saying.
Yeah, I just didn't know what he was saying.
Same situation for Carl Edwards earlier.
And we did hear right before we went back to, came back.
Another guy threw the dirt. Here comes Jimmy Johnson. I bet ducking down and get some fuel.
Because
that's a good move right now. That's going to put them in a pretty good spot, isn't it, Larry? Taking on fuel now, the 48 car.
The wave around put him back on the lead lap, which got him back in the race.
Yeah, they needed to do it right after that restart because they were the closest to the leader. Otherwise, if they let it get strung out, they would have went a lap down. And right now, I'm seeing the 34 car of David Reagan. He might be out of fuel or has a flat.
He's got a flat
if
left
we get
rear.
a caution, that's going to be perfect.
Yeah, he's got a flat left rear, Larry. So far, it hasn't come apart.
David Reagan being scored in the 26th position. He did lead some laps earlier today.
He's down between 1 and 2. He's a long way from pit lane.
Yeah, he's a long way to get off the racetrack and get out of the way. They may catch a caution right here. And we did, to close this look, we did hear, we've talked enough about the scoring lines on out there. We did hear that the NASCAR trailer going pit to pit and handing out new maps to show everybody, to make sure everybody understood where the lines are. We're not saying they were right or wrong, but they are giving everybody lines to identify where they're at.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the move inside of Joey Logano. That was for position.
Some miscommunication going on.
Could be some miscommunication once again.
The Junior back up to fifth, and we get the caution.
Jimmy
Caution
Johnson
for debris.
As much as you can.
Jimmy Johnson had made that green flag pit stop after taking the wave around. He is now 28th, but he will not need to pit here under caution.
Well, not only that, but he just made up 34 seconds on the racetrack thanks to this caution.
Here's the interesting thing, Wally. If you're Casey Kane, Greg Biffle, some of these other drivers, even Jamie McMurray, the race leader, you haven't pitted. Well, you pitted 10 laps ago if you're Jamie McMurray, 7 laps ago if you're Kane, and the other drivers on back inside the top 10. Stay out, or you come here?
I think you have to stick to, what your strategy has been all along. So, well, I don't know. Larry may tell something different, but
I think with McMurray pitting on lap 63 with these cautions, he's going to stay out and he's going to go to about lap 96 or 97. And then he can play it to about lap 127 or 128. That takes him to the end.
That's what I agree. I think these guys got to stick with what they started.
And in our meeting this morning, Larry, we talked about the fact it may be the second half of the race when these crew chiefs start planning strategy from the end and going backwards. It appears we are well into that strategy now as we close on the halfway point.
Biggest thing is you just can't speed on pit road. I think that's the biggest thing you've got to overcome right now.
Well, I'm pretty sure by now everybody's gotten the word that there's been some issues, lots of issues, and just slow it way down.
And if you're just joining us today here on TNT, 14 different speeding penalties have been handed out by NASCAR today. Most of them at pit exit in the final timing segment. Jamie McMurray got a break with a caution a while ago. He last pitted at lap 63. He is the race leader. And Casey Kane, who also played a bit of strategy of his own, taking 2 tires in the last cycle of stops, is the runner-up. He's finished in the top 10 of the last 7 races in Sprint Cup competition, including the Coca-Cola 600 a couple of weeks ago. And Jamie McMurray is going to come to pit road, and he'll bring Casey Kane with him here. The top 2 going to make a stop.
That's what we know.
Chris?
Yeah, initially, Jamie McMurray was off sequence from the rest of the field. Now, off sequence once again. Last time he was here was back on lap 64. Going to do track bar only, fuel only.
Man, that having that track position, being out, it's always better being out front too.
Brad Keselowski, Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, Casey Kane among the other drivers who make a pit stop under caution at lap 75. Under caution for debris, David Reagan having problems. Greg Biffle is the race leader at Pocono. Welcome back to Pocono. That's Kyle Busch going to the garage. Engine problems. That'd be the 2nd week in a row for him. 29th after a blown engine at Dover last week. Log on to NASCAR.com to experience TNT Race Buddy, presented by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the official beer of NASCAR, with 10 camera views, live chats, and special reports from the pits from Miss Coors Light. TNT Race Buddy on NASCAR.com.
'18's had a lot of engine issues this year. See it there? This is under caution, right?
Yeah. Here's a guy, Kyle Busch, that won at Richmond. Finished in the top 5 in the next 3 races. And as we pointed out, back-to-back weeks, engine problems for the 18. Well, that's a helpless feeling, huh, Wally?
Yeah, and this place is, I'm surprised, more problem. The guys don't have more problems with valves, because when you downshift here, especially at these speeds, it's really easy to over-rev an engine on a downshift. And when that happens, it's usually a valve that you
Jimmy
swallow.
Johnson comes down pit road, nothing to lose. He's the final car on the lead lap. In the 28th position, Greg Biffle is your race leader here at Pocono.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing from Pocono Raceway is brought to you by Sprint. Avoid a data dilemma with truly unlimited data. Go to sprint.com/speed. And by McDonald's. I'm loving it.
NASCAR on TNT back at the Pocono Raceway. Got a few tweets for you. Talking about A.J. Allmendinger, that was pretty hard. It might have been one of the hardest hits I'll take. Sore tomorrow, but I'll be okay. The quote there. And then we got one talking about Kyle Petty. Careful, Kyle. You don't want a penalty for tweeting during the broadcast.
What?
If you get penalized for tweeting during the broadcast, Kyle's going to be in a lot of trouble.
A lot of trouble. I'm already about 100 laps down on that part.
All right. Kyle Busch said it's getting worse. It's going to blow up. Pitting now.
Okay.
We've paid that story off. He's in the garage. And here's a good one. No truth to the rumor that TNT is going to make Larry run down pit road with a transponder to check the timing segments. I got to say, I'm all in on that.
I'm all in on that one too. I'm all in on that one, Larry.
You ready?
If y'all give me about 5 minutes, I will get a transponder put on my torque, and we'll go down pit road, and we'll see exactly what's what.
I don't know what part your torque is, but if you want to strap one to your ankle, that'll be okay.
I'm not sure I can run fast enough to be speedy.
You need Ralph Shaheen's skateboard. Ralph, among the many that were a part of the One Lap on skateboards here yesterday, a fundraiser at the Pocono Raceway. So Greg Biffle leads this race. Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Joey Logano, and Matt Kenseth are your top 5. And the big storyline early today has been the 14 speeding penalties. And it's been an interesting afternoon for Carl Edwards as well, Larry.
Well, it has, and I'm going to go into Larry Mack's toolbox under the driver profile. And when you think about it, Carl Edwards qualified in the 2nd position. Now, what I've got here, this is position, this is the laps. But remember, on that very first lap, he had got in trouble with Denny Hamlin and fell all the way back to 42nd position. And then he started his march back up. And then right in here is where we got into green flag pit stops. And he fell back just a little bit. But on that last caution right here, about lap 67, Bob Osborne decided to go with 2 tires. And if you look now, Carl Edwards is all the way back up in the top 10.
All right, thank you, Larry. Jimmy Johnson caught speeding on pit road twice today. He's in the 26th position. He's come down pit road several times under caution. Let's listen in to what they're saying in the 48 camp this afternoon here at Pocono.
All right, we're back on the lead lap, and here we come. Ta-da! Well, the exciting news is we're like 27th. It's only just a little worse than when we qualified. We got all the way up to like 4th there before we had our problems. That's 4 coming up, going to the front.
All right, Ralph, what's the latest?
Okay, this, Adam, is what the timing loop map looks like. I just got one out of the NASCAR hauler here. And last year, there were 9 different timing loop areas on this colorful map that you see here for pit road. That was last year. This year, there's 10. And none of them are in the same spot they were in a year ago when we were here. That's the problem the drivers are having. Where they think the lines are is not where they were, or is not where they are, based on where the map was last year. Now, the good news, when we come back here in August, all of these lines will be in the exact same spot, so we shouldn't have this issue. Of course, this was just a big part of what happened when they did the repave job here.
And that's a good explanation, because, I mean, we've been talking about it all day. These guys had to or have to not know where those lines were when it first started. There's no way they can be right in 1 second.
NASCAR gives everybody that same thing that Ralph was holding.
Yeah, but evidently,
so unless they didn't double check
evidently they didn't somebody didn't double check or whatever, because I mean that
they took for granted it was the same.
Took for granted that it was the same.
Yeah.
Ralph.
And Wally, some of the teams came screaming back here into the garage area and got new ones once the race got underway, because they didn't realize this, so they didn't know. They had not gotten that or didn't look at it, filed it away, came running down here, got a new one. They're adjusting out on pit road.
Yeah, and that's something that you wouldn't really think about them changing from year to year to year. Yeah. So that is good. Yeah. I mean, we've been calling NASCAR out, calling these people out on timing lines being wrong, the timing itself being wrong. But obviously, the teams were misinformed or didn't take the time to get
Didn't
those
do their
sheets
homework.
and didn't do their homework, so they're the ones that are at fault. It's not the drivers, it's not those guys. They were accelerating where they thought they should be.
1 to go signal has been given. We'll go green next time by. TNT Wednesday, new blood, old feud, same battleground. Dallas, don't miss the 2-hour series premiere event Wednesday, 9/8 Central, only on TNT. For the latest, like us on Facebook. Larry, this timing line thing going to be the water cooler talk tomorrow, no doubt. What do you have to add?
Well, I just want to make sure and clear up how it's monitored. And I was into it a little bit when I was out at the torque car a while ago, and then we had a rash of green flag pit stops break out, like by Jamie McMurray. But even though pit road speed is 55 and they give him up to 59.999, it's not a max miles per hour. It's measured in those segments we've been talking about of time over distance. You might get up as fast as 75 miles per hour in the beginning of the segment, but as long as you back it down enough, like I showed with the tack a while ago, that your time over distance in that segment does not exceed the 59.999. It's time over distance. It's not just a spike of the miles per hour.
Larry, you talked about Carl Edwards a moment ago and the yo-yo day for driver 99. Some other guys we should pay off inside the top 10. Paul Menard, great qualifying run, is 7th as we get set for the restart. Same situation for Marcus Ambrose, who is 8th. Eric Almirola, top 10 a week ago at Dover. He's 9th in the running order. And Ryan Newman, who's not been great in the last few weeks in Sprint Cup competition, started 18th this afternoon. He is 10th as we get ready to go back under the green flag. We will complete lap 82. Biffle and Martin on the front row. Dale Jr., Joey Logano behind him in row 3. Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards. We're back racing at Pocono. Dale Jr. driving the inside of Greg Biffle for the race lead. Mark Martin shuffled behind Dale, and a wiggle as he comes off the corner. And the momentum coming off of turn 1. Junior going to slide back to the 3rd position, and he's got company because Matt Kenseth's coming to the inside of him for position.
Oh, you really don't want to go 3 wide here, or 3 deep anyway.
Carl gave Joey a lot of room right there.
Oh, look at Ambrose gets down on the apron, gets a little sideways, and Carl had to check up. It's going to lose 5 spots.
But Carl checked up a little bit to give Joey a little room to get down, and when he did, Marcus stuck the nose in there, which forced Carl to the outside, and just one good deed, and he loses 5 places.
It still shows how slippery that outside is.
Yeah, that they don't want to go out there.
Menard inside of Newman. It's off of turn 1. That's for the 7th position. Kevin Harvick caught speeding on pit road today. Same situation for Clint Boyer. Both have worked their way back up toward the top 10. Same situation for Jeff Gordon. You see him right there, 5-time winner at the track. Right behind Carl Edwards in the 99.
Yeah, you want to stay on the inside going through turn 2. You do not want to be in the middle or the outside. Either McMurray gets a little bit sideways, a little loose. Jimmy Johnson.
The 18 continues in the garage. What's the latest on Kyle Busch, Ralph?
Well, Adam, he's still sitting in the car, and he radioed into the crew and said the only reason why he knew something was wrong with the engine was because he could see and smell some smoke, and he said the thing felt pretty good. When they got in here, they've gotten deep inside the heart of this engine. They've got all the valve covers off. They are working deep inside here, trying to find out what's wrong. They don't know. All they know is it was blowing out some oil. So they're just chasing through the problems, trying to see if they can figure out where the problem really is, going through all these potential trouble zones deep inside this engine.
So Kyle Busch sitting in the Sprint Cup Series garage. Busch right now 30th off track, and there you saw Jeff Gordon get around Regan Smith. He's starting to drive back toward the front. Driver 24, 11th now. Tony Stewart making a move into the corner.
Yeah, the 78 has been, Smith has been struggling a little bit. He's been losing 1 or 2 spots a lap.
He's not the only one. Carl Edwards restarted 6th. He's back now in the 14th position.
I think the big thing is he's stuck on the outside. He hasn't been able to really get down to the bottom.
No, it's like every corner, there's always that one more car on the inside, one more car. We saw it through turns 1 and 2. We saw it across the tunnel. I thought the 31 of Jeff Burton was going to get to the inside of him right there to go in 3.
Greg Biffle a half a second lead over Mark Martin. Then you got Matt Kenseth, Dale Jr., and Joey Logano, the top 5. What's the latest on Jeff Gordon, Marty?
Well, he was able to get around this group you're watching right now, Regan Smith and those guys. But when he did, he made contact with Regan Smith on the restart of the race, and they bent in the front grille a little bit. They've been dealing with oil and water temperatures all day long now. Jeff saying the water going up once again after that contact with Regan Smith, Adam.
Jeff closing here on Clint Boyer. This would put him back inside the top 10. You may remember under that last caution, we were surprised that the first 2 men on track, Jamie McMurray and Casey Kane, elected to come down pit road. That was at lap 75. They're now 18th and 19th.
I tell you, 24 looked really good through 3.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. He got a good run through 3 and 4, but that's Hendrick power right there, because he come off the corner and just pulled out instantly. When he started up off that corner, he knew he had enough juice to get around that 15 car of Clint Boyer. He never tried to set in line and draft him. He pulled right out.
The best of the Hendrick cars today, Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's 4th behind Greg Biffle, Mark Martin, and Matt Kenseth. 87 laps complete at 160 here at Pocono. The Coca-Cola in-car camera on TNT Race Buddy. Let you ride shotgun with a Coca-Cola Racing family driver. Go to NASCAR.com and check out the Coca-Cola in-car camera on TNT Race Buddy. There is the race leader, Greg Biffle. Matt Kenseth, his teammate, right behind him. Dale Jr. is 3rd, and Mark Martin, who was 2nd when we went to break, has dropped back to 4th. He had a moment on track. These 2 drivers you see here racing for the top spot today entered 1-2 in points. Greg Biffle in the 16, 1 point in front of his teammate Matt Kenseth. Not that it means a whole lot in round 14, but this is the battle for the championship lead right here, Wally.
Yeah, these guys both have run very solid all day long. And Matt, like I said, I've been watching him all day, and his times have been just about the fastest of anybody all day long.
And this historically has not been a good track for Matt Kenseth. Entered today with an average finish outside the top 14. Greg Biffle did win here August of 2010, but he's about to give up the race lead. There goes Matt Kenseth off the corner. Inside of Biffle, he led that lap, and he'll likely be able to hold on into turn number 1. Yes, he does. Look who's coming behind him. And that exchange for position on track makes Matt Kenseth the championship leader. What's the word on Greg Biffle right now, Marty?
Well, remember, Adam, he's on those 2 tires, but when his teammate went by, he said, wow, that car's got a little bit of speed, doesn't it? So I think Biffle admiring his teammate more than anything.
I tell you, they're going to find out who's got some speed right now if they look in the mirror.
Yes.
And Kyle hit on it earlier about the horsepower. I think the Hendrick guys they're making it right now, and it makes everything at Pocono. These straightaways are so long, but you watch Earnhardt, especially when he gets down to the end of the straightaway, those guys they're making some steam.
Near the championship standings as they run on track. Kenseth now 3 in front of his teammate Greg Biffle. Jr., Hamlin, and Johnson make up the top 5.
You know, these 3 guys, first 3 guys in points, most solid guys all year long, they're right there. And we look at Biffle. Biffle has run really, really strong. Matt, you know, obviously has won a race and has run up front, but the Matt and the 88 of Junior, they've just been workhorses all year long. And this was, if we go back to last year, Pocono, Sonoma, this middle part of the year, as we see the 88 roll in on the 16 right here, this is where Junior kind of lost their way. They kind of, and it's not that they ran bad in the 6 TNT races. They just had horrendous luck. I remember out at Sonoma, he got in a wreck early. So, I mean, this is a place that they know they've got to break through in these 6 TNT races and say, okay, we ground through the summer. Now we're ready for a championship.
Dale Jr. finished inside the top 5 last week at Dover. You see Biffle getting out of his way here, realizing that Jr. is quicker. So the 88 up now to second behind Matt Kenseth. But after that top 5 finish last week at the Monster Mile, Dale Jr. said, we're going into that time of year where we have struggled traditionally. We need to get it together in the summer. It appears Dale Jr. doing exactly that today. Larry, 95 of 160 is what we're working on right now. How's the strategy plan coming together?
Well, my calculator has smoke coming out of it down here in my little room. But when I look at our top 9 drivers, Kenseth all the way back to Kevin Harvick, they all pitted on that 3rd caution back at lap 67. If they want to truly make this a one-stop race after their next stop, we're going to have to see them go to about lap 98 or 99, and that way they'll come again at lap 129 to 130. I'm anxious to talk to Kevin Mannion. I agree with Jamie McMurray. I'm not sure why they pitted, because I think everybody has to make 2 more stops from this point on.
Here's a driver to keep an eye on. Tony Stewart's been pretty good here in the last 50 laps or so. He's up to 11th. Let's ride along.
Yeah, where are we? Going down the... I'm lost.
It's before the tunnel.
Before the tunnel, okay.
Yeah, I just know because of the trees on the side right there.
He downshifts into 2. Grab a gear. Drive the car really as deep as you can in here. See, he downshifts fairly early. Let the car roll. He picks up the throttle. He'll grab the gear again here. And these guys are shifting quite a bit. Hey, and I've been watching. I mean, some guys will take a break for a lap or 2 and not shift as much, really depending on what, where you're at in traffic. But you are hauling the mail right here. 207 miles per hour going down into turn 1. And it's so smooth compared to last year through here. So you're carrying a lot more speed through turn 1.
Kevin Harvick, Jeff Gordon, both penalized earlier today for speeding on pit road. Gordon going to take the 9th position away from Harvick. Brad Keselowski, man who won here in August, just came down pit road. He was reporting smoke inside his race car.
Yeah, Stewart's going to take advantage of that. He's right next to Harvick now, coming out of 3.
Hey, Tony Stewart is on quite a little roll here. This puts him inside the top 10. Another driver with Hendrick power, Kyle.
Oh, yeah. And Wally was talking earlier about shifting and not, when we had Denny Hamlin this morning down on the rig, the countdown to green rig, when we were sitting there, he said, if I can get in clean air and get to a place, I probably won't shift it off.
Yeah, that's what I've been watching that.
I'm just going to let it go because I don't need it. If I'm in traffic, I will. So they're so close on their handling and on their engine combinations.
Stewart and Harvick, 10th and 11th on track right now, Matt.
Adam, a good example of comers and goers. Stewart's car getting better and better, especially at the last adjustment. They were working on the free on entry. Meanwhile, Harvick still searching for his first Pocono win. He says his car is getting tighter and tighter everywhere, all 3 corners here at Pocono.
To make a call on strategy, as Larry just pointed out a few moments ago, these lead cars, the first 13 or so, last pitted at lap 67. We may see them in a cycle of green flag stops here real soon. Continue to be impressed with Marcus Ambrose, who's 6th, and Jimmy Johnson, perhaps still unhappy with those 2 speeding penalties early, continuing to drive through the field. Johnson now 15th as he gets around Jeff Burton. Your leader, Matt Kenseth. He's 1.2 seconds in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr., Greg Biffle, Mark Martin, Joey Logano behind. Green flag pit stops when we return to Pocono. Back at Pocono, where race leader Matt Kenseth is on pit road, Chris.
Yeah, right now he's saying the car a little bit tight in the tunnel turn, a little bit tight in turn 3. They've been doing air pressure adjustments all day on the front of that car. Now they're just going to focus on the right side. Marty?
Dale Earnhardt Jr., it's been such a smooth day, Chris, for this 88 team. It's just going to be right side tires once again for Jr. Remember, they did that earlier in the race. They went 67 laps on the left side tires. They get it full of fuel. No changes for him. For his teammate Jeff Gordon, it will be 4 tires. His car a little bit too tight for Gordon. They make an air pressure adjustment for the 24, creeping his way back up through the field as well, Adam.
So a handful of drivers just past lap 100 coming down pit road. Most all of them are running inside the top 10. In fact, Joey Logano, who has taken over the race lead, who will come to pit road now and give it up, had last pitted at lap 67. He will be the final in this group to come down and make a green flag stop, and it will be scheduled for our pole sitter, Marty.
Indeed, for Joey Logano, and they've had a very good day as well. They just can't get that track position back that they had earlier in the race. And the car has been tight all afternoon long, Adam. They've made several changes to it. They can't really get that tightness out of the car, especially coming off the corner. They're going to make a track bar adjustment for Joey, trying to get it to, actually they tighten that up a little bit. They are going to make an air pressure adjustment to get rid of the tightness for Logano, and it will be a 4-tire stop for him. A little bit longer of a stop for the 20 bunch, Adam.
All right, thanks, Marty. As he exits, Juan Pablo Montoya, who last made pit stop at lap 75, is the race leader. Denny Hamlin, Jamie McMurray, David Rudiman, and David Gilliland are the top 5 right now.
And let's go back to that 20 stop. You just heard Marty say that might have been a little bit longer. It was a 14, 15-second pit stop. Remember what Larry said early on. They've got to make sure these things are full of fuel before they let them go.
Ralph, here comes Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, here he comes, Adam. Right into the pit box. He wants them to go 1 round up on the track bar, so that's what they're going to do. They're going to rip the tear off as well. 4 tires should be going on the 11. The big key, of course, as they were talking about, get all the fuel in the car, Chris.
Well, Jimmy Mack in for his second to last stop. We questioned why he came in and gave up that track position earlier. Well, that was a gamble that Kevin Mannion made. He was hoping we were going to go back to green a lot sooner than we did. And if we did that, they would have been in really good shape. But obviously, everybody else made it past lap 100. So now they're back on sequence.
When this cycle of green flag pit stops began, Matt Kenseth had a big lead. If you look back, now Dale Earnhardt Jr., who was running second when this cycle began, is running 5th. Kenseth running 6th. So great job by the 88 bunch in their cycle of green flag stops to put him in front of Matt Kenseth. And when things cycle through, they will be running 1-2 on track.
You know, like the top 5 guys are on such different pit deals as far as when they've last pitted for fuel. Then after that, starting with Earnhardt, you've got a bunch of guys that are kind of on the same sequence.
Yes.
And we got word that Dale Earnhardt Jr., Steve Letarte elected to go with 2 tires. That's what helped them eat through the 1.2 second advantage Matt Kenseth had prior to those stops under green. Montoya, the race leader. He, Rudiman, Gilliland, Blaney will all have to make stops here sometime in the next 5 to 10 laps.
And you talk about 2 tires versus 4 tires. Yep, as you see the 42 car come down pit road, that's what we talked about earlier. The easiest place to pass is pit road. The 88 car of Junior didn't have to waste his time racing the 17 car on the racetrack. They chose a different pit strategy, which basically implemented the pass on pit road.
Let's cover the Montoya stop, Matt.
And closing out this cycle is Juan Pablo Montoya. Jackman runs around the front. Waiting on him, getting the left side tires off. Air pressure change in the 42. And he's one of the last guys to pit. The 42 hits pit road. Jimmy Johnson was already back on lap 102, as was the 1429 as well.
David Rudiman gets his service. You see him coming off pit road there in the 51. So David Gilliland and Dave Blaney, the only 2 drivers that have not made pit stops in this cycle. They run 1-2. Then it's Dale Jr., Matt Kenseth, and Mark Martin. Jimmy Johnson continues his drive back through the field. At one time, 1 lap down and outside the top 25 in the running order today. After a couple of pit road speeding penalties, Johnson is up to 11th position. We talked a little bit about Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon prior to that cycle of stops. Stewart is 12th, Gordon in the 13th spot. So Dale Jr. now up to 2nd as Dave Blaney makes his pit stop, Marty.
Yeah, and Adam, remember we talked about it during their pit stop. They tried that earlier in the day where they kept those left sides on and just went with 2 tires. On that first couple of runs, Junior went 67 laps on left side tires. So this left side set went on lap 67, so we'll see how long they can last, but I would bet on their last stop they'll have to go 4 for Dale Earnhardt Jr. But as you mentioned, nice call by Steve Letarte, getting that track position and past a bunch of cars on pit road.
And Marty, today's Goodyear's superior performer is right there, Dale Earnhardt Jr. getting it done today here at Pocono.
And he has gotten it done today at Pocono. He has run up front and led this thing, and not been a 4th place car, not been a 5th place car, not just inherited the lead. He's driven up there and taken the lead today.
You saw the numbers, 10 top 10 finishes, the only driver to do that in the first 13 races of the year, and he's also the only driver to complete every lap this season. And here's a tweet, literally today could be the day. And I'm not home. No, Dale Jr. wait. Twitter.com/#NASCAR, the best way to get involved. Green flag pit stops have cycled through here at Pocono. The race leader with 49 laps to go, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Matt Kenseth just over a second behind. Mark Martin, Marcus Ambrose, Joey Logano, the top 5. Let's take an inside look at the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Get unlimited access with live in-car audio and real-time stats on the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile Android app only from Sprint. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Fastest 4-tire stop today, Paul Menard and his crew, 12.3 seconds. Nice job, boys. And today's lead changes. 16 among 9 different drivers. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the man that has the field in tow right now. Great bounce back day for some of Dale's teammates over at Hendrick Motorsports. Jeff Gordon was caught speeding earlier. He's 8th. He won this race a year ago, and you pointed out during the break, Wally, that Jimmy Johnson is recovered and now running 7th right in front of Gordon on track.
Which is not really amazing. I guess I'm used to seeing these guys do that, but they've been fast all day. They're now finally in a position where if they can make up that 12 seconds on a caution or something like that, these guys have got a very good shot of winning the race as well.
Cue the music. Here comes Matt Kenseth trying to run down Dale Jr., who has not won in 142 races. In that span, 7 times he's been a runner-up. And real soon he's going to be running second to Matt Kenseth because the 17 car is fast.
Yeah, I believe he's been the fastest car all day. Him and Jimmy Johnson have really put up the biggest numbers on the board consistently.
Greg Biffle, who was running inside the top 5, now finds himself in 17th, Marty.
Yeah, Adam, and we talked about the beginning of the day, our championship leader clinging to a 1-point lead in the championship. Very good chance he leaves Pocono not the championship leader. He has gone down a cylinder on 7 cylinders right now. Matt Pusha did check with a NASCAR official. Minimum speed, the time is 55.19. Biffle so far above that. They're going to try and stay out there as long as they can, but not what Biffle expected today at Pocono, Adam.
You can just listen to the engine, and doesn't have that nice sweet tune to it. It definitely is down a cylinder.
No, and the problem with stuff like this is that minimum speed goes off of the pole speed.
Yeah.
Okay, so when they figure what your minimum speed should be, it's not off your race pace. You know what I mean?
The problem is that there's a really good chance it's really going to blow up between the races, between now and the end of the race.
Yeah, Larry talked about it this morning a little bit.
Larry, what can you tell us about this situation?
Well, if you remember a while ago, we saw Tony Stewart in his 14 core going into the turn 1 at 207 miles per hour. Miles per hour is RPM. I talked to a lot of engine guys this week, and they were not really concerned about the RPM at the end of the straightaway. They said we're only seeing 92, 9,300. Kyle and I were talking in the pre-race and the countdown to green about the downshift when these guys would go in the corner, and they were seeing over 10 grand as far as RPM. Now I'm going to use our Toyota Cutaway engine by Cutaway Creations here. What goes on is the valve springs. That's where you get in trouble with over 10,000 RPM. Now possibly you may be in trouble with the valve. Now as long as that valve, like in Greg Biffle's car, does not break off and go on top of the piston where it hits the top of the cylinder head, he can nurse this thing home. But when you think about it, Kyle Busch, that's 2 weeks in a row that they've had engine failure, and I think it's been the same thing, possibly too many RPM.
All right, Larry, and those engine issues for Greg Biffle today have shaken up the Sprint Cup Series standings. Here's how it looks as they run. Matt Kenseth and Dale Earnhardt Jr. both jumping up a position. Junior 4 points behind Matt Kenseth, but the 17 car right in driver 88's hip pocket as they go down into turn 1. Greg Biffle's now dropped to 15 out in the 3rd spot.
I think right now it looks like the Hendrick car probably got a little bit on the straightaways, but Kenseth looks like he's handling a little bit better.
44 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the lead at Pocono for now. Here comes Matt Kenseth.
Adam Sandler here. Andy Samberg and I have a new movie coming out called That's My Boy.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
What are you doing? They said that hours ago.
Keep those engines running.
That's My Boy opens June 15th.
And don't shut those engines
All right,
off.
stop already.
It's a race.
NASCAR, TNT.
Getting down to money time in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Pocono Raceway playing host to today's Pocono 400 presented by #NASCAR. This is the battle for the race lead. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in front of Matt Kenseth.
It looks like the 17 is, these guys are pretty even everywhere except for in turn 3. Looks like Kenseth is a lot better than Earnhardt in turn 3. But then Earnhardt's got a little bit more motor, it looks like, down the straightaway.
Junior not the only Hendrick car that's getting it done. Casey Kane going around his teammate Jeff Gordon. That was for 7th. Remember, Dale Earnhardt Jr. got the race lead on a cycle of green flag pit stops. So what strategies will play out the rest of the way, Larry McReynolds?
Well, I'm hesitant to say what will play out, but I can tell you what I think should play out. If you look back at the last set of green flag pit stops about 20 or 21 laps ago, all the drivers except for Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Jamie McMurray, they changed 4 tires. Johnson, Earnhardt, and McMurray went with 2 tires. Now with this next green flag pit stop, which should be the final stop coming in about 8 to 10 laps, I think no matter what, you have to go with just 2 right side tires. If you go with 4, you're going to lose way too much ground. But as we talked at the top of the show, you better make sure it's packed full of fuel.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth have never won here, but their crew chiefs have. Steve Letarte led Jeff Gordon to victory lane in June 2007. It was Jimmy Finning that got Kurt Busch there in July of '05. Green flag pit stops on the way. .36 laps to go this afternoon in the Pocono 400 presented by #NASCAR. Under caution for the 5th time today. It was debris on track. Eric Almirola got into the wall. He was running in the 20th position. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth, Mark Martin, Joey Logano, Marcus Ambrose are the top 5. Let's update our AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge. It is Joey Logano running the best of those who qualified in the top 4 positions today. Sign up next week by texting FAST to 34763 or visit attfastestdriver.com. Brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network, AT&T. Rethink possible. Pit road is open and they will come down and make stops at lap 125, Chris.
Yeah, Adam, and crew chiefs for both the 55 and the 17 telling their drivers they're about 5 laps short on fuel, so use long gears when they get back out on the racetrack. Mark Martin going to take 4 tires, fuel, and half a round up on the track bar. Matt Kenseth saying the car is great. Let's not do anything here. Let's just put 4 tires on it and fuel.
Chris, Wally was exactly right. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was losing time getting into turn 3. He was a little bit free that time, but Jr. said, I never really ran hard that run the entire time. It's just going to be 2 tires for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Those left sides have been on since lap 67, but Joey Logano wins the race off pit road, Adam.
How about that? The pole sitter and the crew delivers. He took 2 tires and jumps 2 spots, and Mark Martin getting good service. He jumped 4 positions. Junior and Kenseth running 1-2 off of pit road, 3rd and 4th. We'll reset the running order when we come back.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing from Pocono Raceway is brought to you by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. with coverage in 2,000 more 4G cities and towns than Verizon. AT&T, rethink possible. By Chrysler, imported from Detroit. By 5 Hour Energy, hours and hours of energy. By KFC, come in today and taste why fresh is better. And by Coca-Cola, it's time to refuel. Coca-Cola, open happiness.
NASCAR on TNT, back at the Pocono Raceway. 33 laps remain in this afternoon's 400-miler. And I am assuming with the pit stops that we just saw and the fuel window, as it has been all day long, crew chiefs up and down pit road saying, please save fuel. And here a few of the drivers are going to come down and top off with the one to go. Chris?
Yeah, Adam, they're saying please save fuel, but also other teams deciding to bring their cars in to top them off because they're saying they're 3 laps short. Ralph?
Well, the 11 is in the same position. I just got a nod from Darian Grubb, and I asked him, can you make it on fuel? He said no. They're a little tight in the center. They took 2 tires, though, Matt.
And the 14 of Stewart came down and topped off, but what the 29 of Kevin Harvick and the Ream guys, their game plan is simply to go back green. They took lefts when they hit pit road this last time. When it goes back to green, they're going to run 4 to 5 laps, then hit pit road, top off. They'll be in clean air. They feel like that'll put them in the best position. Marty?
Matt riding along with Dale Earnhardt Jr. is trying to save fuel under this caution. They're about 4.5 laps short, according to Steve Letarte. They left him on the track, and Steve telling him, save as much fuel as you can for me. Jr. said back to Steve, I'm not going to forgive you if you run me out of fuel. Wally, it's always the crew chief's fault when you run out of fuel, isn't it? Never the driver's fault.
Well, I'm asking the crew chief right now, Larry, if I'm sitting in 10th spot like Gordon or some of these guys, maybe like where Stewart is, you know, when they throw the green, do I hit pit lane and top it off? Will I make it?
Yeah, it's still going to be close because we've seen there's been some drivers that stretched to the 30 and 31 laps. You're going to have to run a few laps, I think, Wally, before you can guarantee the fact that you will make it. But remember what we saw Jimmy Johnson in the 48 group do earlier, ran a lap or 2 and then came to pit road because they needed fuel.
Yeah.
Front row on the restart. Joey Logano, Mark Martin. Right behind them, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth, 3rd and 4th. There will be 32 laps to go, and they get the green flag here at Pocono.
Oh, my God. Who's that?
That's Ryan Newman going to the outside.
Really slippery up there.
Yeah, I was going to say he's the first guy.
Oh, man, Earnhardt slid up the racetrack. Yeah. Almost made contact.
Yeah.
Ooh, he's out of 48. Yeah, he's going to lose a lot of spots right there.
I'm going to tell you, Ryan had to give Junior a little bit of room there, and when he did, he took himself out, but that was good give and take with those guys.
3 wide into the corner here.
That doesn't work often either.
Junior 3 wide right there.
Yeah, but he's on the inside, which is okay.
Which is the preferred
That's where you
position.
want to be, yeah.
He got a really strong run across that tunnel.
Oh, Casey Kane slams it down in there.
That would be a power move right there.
And Jeff Gordon going to try and do the same inside of Denny Hamlin.
Hendrick cars other than 48 putting themselves in position.
And if that didn't do any damage to the 5 car, the 5 car has been extremely fast. He had run from about 11th or 12th, Casey had, up to about 6th or 7th right before that caution came.
I think there's a little smoke coming off the right side of that car, just as you were saying that, Kyle.
And there could be, because he just body slammed that 11th car.
How about Tony Stewart? Came down pit road, topped off for fuel. He restarted outside the top 15, if my numbers are correct, and he has already gone inside the top 10. A great late race rally for smoke.
And here we are with about 30 to go, and we're right back to where the race started. Joey Logano leading and Mark Martin running second.
Juan Pablo Montoya, Ryan Newman, Paul Menard. All those drivers competing for position. Hey, Denny Hamlin hasn't had an easy day, but he's worked his way back up to 6th. He's got Gordon right behind him.
There is a little smoke still coming off the 5. That looks like around the right front area.
Brad Keselowski penalized, too fast exiting. I believe the count is now up to 15 speeding penalties this afternoon. Make it 18. Left side of your screen, Denny Hamlin. Right side, you see the battle as he tries to hold off Jeff Gordon. Jimmy Johnson, who backpedaled on that restart after having problems coming off turn 1, finds himself in the 19th position.
And then we see Denny get a huge run up off 3 and just drive around the 5 car. And we saw the 5 car get into him. So the 5 car may be having, as Wally's pointed out a couple of times, a little bit of smoke coming off his tires. He may be having a handling issue now.
Kane working on his 8th consecutive top 10 finish.
Or the 11 car may just be fast. How about that?
Jamie McMurray's been playing the strategy game all day long. He's currently 20th on track. Let's go inside tracks with crew chief Kevin Bono Mannion and hear the plan for the 1 team as we go down the stretch at Pocono.
Hey, we're going for it. Stuff it big, stuff it Benji. Go, go, go. There you go.
Inside tracks, one of the cool behind-the-scenes features of NASCAR on TNT. Special thanks to crew chief Kevin Bono Mannion, Dave Winston, the race engineer, and Brett Cumming, the pit coach for Jamie McMurray's Banana Boat Chevrolet.
And they really have to go for it at this point, where they put themselves.
Yeah, they put themselves in a position that they had to. So that's why he says just stuff it and let's make something happen.
Here's a couple of Hendrick cars going at it. That's Jeff Gordon going inside of Casey Kane, moved driver 24 up to 5th in the running order. And here comes Tony Stewart behind these two.
Yeah, I really think Casey's lost the handle a little bit here. When he got into the 11 or something, I think it's affected his car.
He's lost about 2 miles per hour.
Yeah, because he was coming before this caution and before that incident. He was on his way forward.
You know, another driver that's dropped back on this run, Matt Kenseth, led a number of laps today, but he's behind Tony Stewart here. The 17 back in the 8th position. And countdown to green. Kyle said the 20 would win. Wally said the 55. Joey Logano, Mark Martin running 1-2 at Pocono. 27 laps remaining here on TNT. Joey Logano leads at Pocono with 24 laps to go. And for the 6th time today, we have caution on the track.
Wow, once again, this changes everything.
Yes, it does. Everyone's in their window now.
Yeah, because these guys were worried about a three or four lap window. Will they be able to save here? Will they be able to save fuel here? What'll be able to happen?
Reason for our caution, Casey Kane getting into the wall coming off of turn 3. You guys had talked about the problems he was facing with his car.
Yeah,
he just lost the right front.
Yeah, obviously when he body slammed. When he body slammed the 11 car, it had to have done some damage at some point in time. You see, he's already
up early.
Yeah, just like we saw the 22 cars. Something goes down on the right front, something happens, and he shoots straight across. And that's probably just about as hard a hit as the 22 of AJ.
Right along here, this is right here where it usually blows.
Yeah, it just goes straight.
See him pull his right hand off the wheel.
We got the fence, guys. We got the fence off the here. Hold your line, hold your line, hold your line.
Like you said earlier, Kyle, I mean, if you're going to pick a place, the worst place to hit at Pocono is turn 2.
Turn 2. And you saw that frustration, him pounding on the steering wheel. I really believe that started when he got into the 11 car after that restart.
Absolutely.
Because he started to go backwards and he got slower and slower and is rubbing or whatever. You saw the smoke.
Kane was running 8th when he hit the wall over in the tunnel turn. 23 laps remaining. Joey Logano leads. Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Denny Hamlin, Jeff Gordon, the top 5. Tony Stewart is 6th. Matt Kenseth 7th. Ryan Newman, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Clint Boyer the top 10. Let's see what strategy plays out here. Pit road is open.
No way, I'm not coming. No,
Logano, Martin, stay out. Here come Junior, Gordon, and more.
Oh, gosh.
Why would...
Obviously, those guys truly believed there was no way they could make it. I don't think Stevie would have brought him down pit road without that.
Jeff.
And you look at him, you know, the 24 car, that's 2 Hendrick cars right there.
Here they come, Marty.
Well, teammates Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. hitting pit road, both in the top 5. At the end of the day, Steve Letarte felt like 4 laps was too far for Dale Earnhardt Jr. to save the fuel. They do top it off. Dale Earnhardt Jr. now good to go on fuel. They'll just have to see how fast that 88 car is, boys.
Hey, guys, I just believe with the way these guys can save fuel under caution, and I think that's what guys like Joey Logano and Mark Martin, Denny Hamlin, that's what they're banking on. You can save enough fuel here to possibly get those 3 or 4 laps. But I will say this, now that drivers like this stayed out, they have made their bed. They have to stay out the rest of this race.
Yeah, but you know, looking at these other guys saving fuel, the 2 cars that came down pit road were the 2 dominant cars were Hendrick, and they come down pit road. The 48 was out. I don't know what cycle he was on. I don't understand that.
I'm with you on that one.
Marty?
And if you guys are wondering what Dale Jr. thought about it, when he left pit road, he said, "Phew, I'm glad I don't have to worry about that. Now I can run as hard as I want." So Jr., a big fan of getting fuel right there.
Hey, guys, the other Hendrick engine that stayed out, and he's the guy I really like right now, Tony Stewart in that 14 car. He's running 4th. Remember, before the restart on that last caution, he came back to pit road and topped off, and we know nobody is better in the business at saving fuel than Tony Stewart.
Another driver that did the same on that same lap that will restart here inside the top 10 is Clint Boyer. He is 7th, Larry. And Jeff Burton playing that same strategy, topping off at lap 127. He will restart in the 10th position. For Dale Earnhardt Jr. and that other list of drivers that came down here under caution, they will be 16th in the running order. At least that's where they are now. Let's take an inside look at the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Get unlimited access with live in-car audio and real-time stats on the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile Android app, only from Sprint. Learn more at sprint.com/speed.
So here's where Larry tells us, okay, you're out front, stay out front, but save fuel. Don't get past.
Yeah, you know, and that's what they're telling Logano and Mark and Denny Hamlin. Those guys, stay out front, lead this thing, give me a little bit of a breathing room out there, but save me a bunch of fuel while you're doing it. And then Stevie and those guys are telling, you know, Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr., drive your butt off. We've got nothing. So I mean,
Is
I
that
think
what
it's
you're
going to be
tell
tough.
us, Larry? Well, I think another thing that I'm going to tell you, aside from staying off the throttle, maybe shut your engine off as much as possible on this caution. Kyle, you and I talked about this earlier. Get in high gear and stay in high gear as much as possible. In other words, go from 3rd to 4th, maybe a little earlier on the straightaway than you were doing earlier. You're not gonna burn as much fuel in high gear as you would in 3rd gear.
Yeah, just as Denny told us when we were on the set this morning, he may get into that thing where he short shifts a little bit to save some fuel. And I think you look at that. I just think it's really going to be hard as we see that. You know, Tony Stewart cutting this thing off, cutting it on, cutting it off, cutting it on. We saw earlier in the year, the first time Tony tried this, he didn't recycle it, and he lost 2 or 3 laps at Phoenix when we saw early in the year. So obviously these guys have worked the bugs out on their fuel injection. But, you know, I'm going to tell you, Junior's sitting there in 16th, Jeff's sitting there in 17th. They've been fast.
Coasted a long time.
Coasted a long time. You heard him fired when he dropped the clutch is when it fired back up. But they've been really fast. Are they fast enough to cut their way through 15 cars in 15 laps? And I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure about that. But there still may be a lot of these guys running out of fuel that last lap,
too. There could be guys running out of fuel. There could be another caution that puts them in a different place.
Let's listen now to the conversation that Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his team were having here under caution a moment ago.
Well, at least we ain't got to worry about that. I know. I think we could have won if we could have made it, but we were a long way short. We're going to have to we're going to have to get after it, man. Do the best you can. Yeah, I'll do the best I can.
How much have we heard of that here in 2012? Steve Letarte, Dale Earnhardt Jr. communicating on the same page and kind of motivating one another. Very refreshing in the 88 King.
But you know what these guys, and Kyle touched on it earlier, these guys keep putting themselves in a position to win races.
Sure.
They're running good every week, and you keep doing that, you're going to win races eventually. So they've been, they're knocking on the door, and it's a lot easier to lose a race when you know you've been good enough to win it, and you're going back somewhere next week that you can, get another shot.
And look, Junior may drive this thing from 15th to win this thing, and that's possible. We've seen it happen before. But the thing that's impressed me today about that team over everybody else here is they drove to the front. They led the race. In the past, if we go for the previous 12 or 13 races, they've been solid, but not a dominant car. I felt like they were a car that was at least the first or second best car here and had a shot at winning a race. They're going to win a race. Yeah, they're just in that position.
So, Chris, let's go through some storylines late in the race. What do you got on Matt Kenseth?
Well, that was one of the cars that didn't look like it was going to make it. He was about 2 laps shy on fuel. We saw a bunch of cars come in. Jimmy Finnig rolling the dice, leaving the 17 out. I just asked him, are you confident you can make it? He kind of gave me a cautious nod. I asked him if he was going to be able to shift, Matt Kenseth be able to shift out there, get 100% out of that car. And once again, a cautious nod. Ralph?
Chris, I just talked to Darian Grubb about Denny Hamlin. He's still not sure they can make it all the way. Reason being, they're trying to go 35 laps here all the way to the finish on 1 tank of fuel. And if you remember, earlier in the day, he ran out of fuel. On that run, Matt, he only went 32 laps.
And the 14 of Tony Stewart sits fourth. Hasn't won since back in April at Fontana. His season, much like the stock market. But you keep an eye on the 14 because they are in that window where they could be good to go. Unless we get a green-white checker, that could really shake up the entire poker table, Marty.
Let's chat with the leaders crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe, with Joey Logano. And how you nerves right now?
Well, we are crunching some numbers, to say the least. Yeah. Now, who would have thought 5 days ago we'd come to Pocono and come down to this, right? We all knew it would.
Right. Yeah.
So it's close. It's really close, but I'm really proud of these guys on the Home Depot race team, and proud of Joey. Our Camry's been tough all day. We've been right there in the top 4, so, we came here. I mean, you hear it all the time. We came here to win, but we did. I mean, we got to take this shot for Joey, for this race team. This is a good opportunity for us, so we'll see. It's close.
So no question for you whether or not to pit. You're officially, about 4 laps short, and this extra caution lap doesn't hurt, does it?
The caution laps are a plus, man. I mean, that's a huge blessing, and then when they just brought it back out again and gave us another one, so that's a big deal. That's going to get us real close. We're probably about 1 short right now.
All right, while these guys in the 20 pit very happy for the extra caution lap, the guys next door in the 88 pit not so happy, Adam. They were hoping to go back to green.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, Marty. It's exactly what I was going to say. Every time these guys run a caution lap, the 88 and the 24 banging the steering wheel because this is hurting them.
What do you see here as we operate under caution, Larry?
Well, with them adding that caution lap, if we go back racing this next time, when they get the one to go here, then we're going to be looking at probably about 6 caution laps. And I just think this is playing right in the driver's favor that stayed out, but I keep going back to the guy that I think is truly in the catbird seat, and I just believe that's Tony Stewart sitting back there who has 2 more laps of fuel in that fuel tank. I think they can make it with all these caution laps that we're running now.
Well, you got to drive like you can. I know that at this point.
Mark Martin going to restart second here. You see him outside of Joey Logano. What's the fuel situation there, Chris?
Well, Adam, Mark Martin's finished here second 6 times. Just checked in with Rodney Childers, and he said they're good to go on fuel too. Also, Mark Martin being able to shift out there wherever he wants. But he said it's tight. Right now, we're estimating being able to get to lap 160.1.
And I think watching these starts or restarts lately, Kyle, if Mark's got to get Logano on this restart. Because if Joey gets out front, he's been really, really fast, and he's going to be really difficult to pass.
Yeah, if Joey gets that clean air, if he gets, and we saw Joey earlier on a couple of restarts and on this last one. When he gets a good restart or gets a decent restart, he goes to the inside of the racetrack and blocks that line from anybody coming up. He doesn't mind going in low because he wants to be low. But this is, as you say, Mark's got to get that jump and at least be able to pull even with him and maintain through 1 and 2, because if he doesn't, once Joey gets clean air, he's like everybody else we see. He just goes.
We're going to get the green flag this time by as the field makes their way across the short chute from the tunnel turn over to turn 3. Race leader Joey Logano on the front row with Mark Martin. 31 races since a pole winner has won. In fact, the best finish in 2012 when Martin Truex Jr. was 6th at Texas back in April. Denny Hamlin, Matt Kenseth on the 2nd row, and Larry McReynolds giving the nod to Tony Stewart, who's better in the fuel category than any other driver inside the top 5. He restarts 5th. Here we go down the stretch at Pocono.
Mark drove it on in there.
Yeah, he did. He knew he had to,
He knew he had
so
to.
if he can hang here,
yeah,
he's going to put himself in a good position, and he does.
Mark Martin, power move on the outside.
He come right back, though, yeah.
And look at Tony Stewart, restarted 5th. Here he comes inside of Mark Martin to the tunnel turn.
And Tony got that good run because of Mark and the 20 car of Joey Logano. And then we see the crossover here with Mark Martin. Crossover Earnhardt Sr. made famous. Everybody does it over the tunnel. You put that guy in position, he's called out, and you take it back away from him.
Denny Hamlin was laying right there behind him. He can't make it happen, so he tucks in line in the 4th position. Boyer has jumped up to 5th since the restart. Jimmy Johnson now running 9th and looking for more. You see him fanning out down the front straightaway and trying to grab a draft from Juan Pablo Montoya.
And you know, remember Juan got in the wall early. And here he is back up running 7th right now. He's done a great job with Ganassi and those guys to bring this thing back up there.
Don't give up on Dale Earnhardt Jr. Restarted 16th, a lap and a half into the run. Driver 88 already back up inside the top 10.
And here's a guy, you know, and we talked about him. I said, you know, he might drive from 16th to win this thing. Catch a caution coming like this, he can put themselves back, and they don't have to worry about fuel at all, period.
Yeah, they would love to see a green white checker, or a couple of them.
Yes.
Picks off Regan Smith, goes up to 9th. As Joey Logano comes across the start-finish line, 15 laps remaining. Ryan Newman, Martin Truex Jr., Marcus Ambrose all mixing it up deep in the field. That's Jamie McMurray going to the inside of Truex. 3 wide into 1.
And these are all cars that have run up front, are in the top 5 or 6 today. With Ryan, with Jamie and those guys. Their pit cycles and the way they chose to run this race, now as the race has played out, have put them back here in the back of the pack.
You're in the middle.
Spotter traffic from Martin Truex Jr., who gets caught on the outside of Kevin Harvick trying to make a move there. That was over in the tunnel turn.
Truex has done a pretty good job today, considering what those guys went through earlier too. And losing the right side of the car.
Losing the whole right side of the car. And having to pit multiple times to put the foam back in. Yeah, they have come back. There's been 2 or 3 teams that have fought back at different times.
Jimmy Johnson running 7th after being a lap down because of those speeding penalties. Someone else you need to give a nod to.
Wow.
Dale Jr. going to go get him another one here. Montoya for 8th.
He is coming, and just like he said, okay, now I can get up on and go.
14 laps to go. Junior still got some ground to make up. When you look at it, last time around he was 3.6 seconds behind leader Joey Logano. Logano, by the way, is 7/10 of a second in front of Mark Martin. It's Matt Kenseth. Led some laps today. He's working over Clint Boyer. That's for the final spot inside the top 5.
And I'm not sure if Boyer, that they worked on that car that much. They haven't been anywhere in this thing all day long, and now they're running pretty good.
Yeah, and he was another one that got nabbed for speeding early in the race, was Boyer.
Yeah, and all those guys have worked all day long to get their track position back that they gave up on those speeding penalties. You see the 48 car, you see the 15 car. Guys who got caught speeding and got a lap behind or got sent to the back of the pack or put in timeout, whatever you want to call it. Now they're back in the race.
Best finish of the year for race leader Joey Logano, 8th. He's looking for much more this afternoon, Larry.
Well, when I look at Joey Logano on this 20 car, and we know that he possibly is going to be awfully close on fuel. He has led 40 laps in this race, Adam. He had only led 2 laps in the first 13 races. But just think about Joey Logano. There's a lot of rumors hanging over his head. He's in a contract year. I truly believe that running those Nationwide Series races he's been running, he's won 3 of the last 4. I think that's what's keeping Joey Logano's confidence up there, that I can truly drive a race car if they'll just give me something I can drive.
It's been a long time since Logano's gone to victory lane. His only career win coming at New Hampshire, June of 2009, and now caution. 7th caution of the day, and you heard it on the radio call, debris.
Once again, this changes things for these guys. At 88, it puts him in a lot better position because we saw how good he was on the restart. He came from 16th to 11th within 2 laps. Now, it gets a little bit tighter and a little bit harder once you get to the sharp end of the stick.
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Now, it's going to be harder to get around Kenseth and Boyer and those guys, but still.
Hey, Kyle, Wally, Adam, if you think about it, the caution's probably good for everybody because we know that most of our drivers at the top, all the way from Joey Logano back to Jimmy Johnson, they're close on fuel. This is probably going to put them in great shape, but it's good for drivers like Dale Earnhardt Jr. because now he can reset and he's going to restart on the outside of the 4th row.
How good is Dale Jr.'s car? Of those drivers that came down and pitted at lap 138, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is 8th right now. Next best, 13th, Ryan Newman. A testimony to the fact that Junior's not playing any pit strategy games. They have got a very good race car, and he's passed a bunch of people in traffic on a day when we thought it would be near impossible here at Pocono.
He took tires. Those guys take tires when they came in that last time, Earnhardt?
I want to say they did. Marty would know for sure.
Yeah, Adam, he did not take tires that last time. It was fuel only for Dale Earnhardt Jr. And you have to remember, those left side tires, they have been on this car since lap 67, consecutive right side tires for the fuel only at the end of the race. So a long time for those left side tires, but obviously not affecting Junior very much. He's very quick on the racetrack.
That's amazing. I remember those 2 right side tire stops and no tires there. It's been a long haul on the left sides. Next week we go to the Irish Hills of Michigan. It's going to be fast with the new surface there. We can't wait here at TNT. TNT heads to Michigan, round 15. Our coverage begins with countdown to green, noon Eastern time, followed by the Quicken Loans 400. You think it's been fast here at Pocono today on the newly paved 2.5-mile triangle? Wait till we get to Michigan. Speeds into turn 1 going to be over 215 more than likely. Brad Keselowski got the free pass here. He makes a pit stop. 10 laps to go in this one after they past the start-finish line.
I think these restarts are going to start getting a little bit more aggressive.
A little bit more aggressive. And, you know, we saw on that last restart, you saw the 14, Tony Stewart, try to peek to the inside going down to turn 1. I think now he's going to be ready to try.
Yeah, and that's where you need to be.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if I slid up and knocked you out of the groove a little bit, I'm really sorry about that.
Sorry.
I'm going for it.
That's one of those racing deals.
But that's where you want to make your pass.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark did a incredible job hanging on the outside. I don't think I've seen that all race.
No.
But now everybody's going to start trying a little bit harder.
Miss Sprint Cup likes what she's seeing. Game changer. Caution out for debris in turn 2. Now when things start to get crazy. Hashtag NASCAR. And if you want to be a part of what we got going on, twitter.com/hashtag NASCAR. You know, Kyle's burned the phone up early over there on Twitter, but it's calmed down. We've had so much to talk about. Interesting strategies, all the issues on pit road early with the speeding penalties, and now some drama at the end. Dale Jr. trying to rally through the field, and some guys up front trying to hang on with a load of fuel.
Guys still shutting their engines off.
What are they saying in the 20 camp, Marty?
Well, I was going to ask Kyle and Wally, you ever have a race that just didn't sit very well with you when you left the racetrack, you know? Just
about 400 of them.
about how it went. Well, that was the case here for Joey Logano last August. Remember, he sat on the pole, led 44 laps, was in 3rd with 15 to go, in a very good position to win it. Cut a tire. They wound up finishing back in the 20s. And Joey told me on Friday of this week, it took me at least a few weeks to get over that race because we were so close, and I knew that might have been our shot last year to win a race. So Joey Logano is certainly looking for some redemption. And Larry Mack was talking about that confidence. Jason Ratcliffe told me earlier today that that really flipped for him at Darlington. Winning the nationwide race did everything for him, and you look at their results since then, they've been excellent. Logano could be on the verge of career win number 2 right now, Adam.
Well, and Marty, he's learned it. There's no question about it. That team's been on top of their game this weekend, Larry.
Well, and we're talking about these guys that they're still shutting their engines off. You have nothing to lose, because just think about it. If we get into a green-white checkered situation, then you want to make sure you've got enough fuel for that. So there's nothing to lose in all the game by still trying to save as much fuel as possible under caution.
On board with Tony Stewart. He will restart in the 3rd position. Denny Hamlin going to be on the 2nd row with him. Clint Boyer, Matt Kenseth in row 3 on the restart, and 2 Hendrick drivers in the 7th and 8th positions. That's Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr. But the front row, where it's going to happen, Joey Logano, the race leader, and Mark Martin alongside, Chris.
Well, Adam, I just checked on that green-white caution or green-white checker. If we go to extended laps, the 55, Rodney Childers saying no, they won't be able to do it. Just checked in with the 17, Jimmy Finnick telling me yes, they could do 1 cycle.
I think Tony's in a pretty good spot here.
Yeah.
Because if you know, like you were saying, how the 20 will go down and then bring Mark back up to the wall. If Tony gets a good restart, he could take both those guys while they're between turn 1 and 2.
Yeah,
if he leaves on the room down on the bottom.
If Tony doesn't overdrive turn 1 and gets his run off of turn 1 to the tunnel. Last time he only had enough run. 20 car got a great start right there.
Yes, he did.
I'm gonna tell you, he got a great start.
Tony's there. Now he's got to go down to the bottom. I'm surprised. I thought he might not be close enough.
Yeah.
Martin on the outside again. We saw this the last time on the restart.
Got the great start.
Martin trying to make it stick off the corner. Can he do it? Here comes Logano back on the inside.
I'm not sure Logano's going to have as much run as he did last time.
Put Mark Martin on the point. How about driver 55, old Double Nickel, trying to get his first win at Pocono?
Did he just say double nickel?
He said double nickel.
He is a PA announcer.
Oh, boy.
Let's listen in on Denny Hamlin. He's 4th right now with 8 laps remaining.
How much do you want me to go for this win?
I'm saying go get it.
Talk about fuel, you know, I got to be careful. I can't do it.
Don't worry about being careful, buddy. Go get it.
It shows right now with our worst mileage, we are good by a lap.
So use it all up. I'm using every drop of it.
Mark Martin trying to hang on and win for the first time at Pocono. 7 laps to go. Joey Logano right there with him. Then some distance back to Tony Stewart in 3rd.
Yeah, if Joey's going to get this one, he's going to have to take it from a master. But I'm going to tell you, Joey's car is good. He gets that thing just about a half car length lower over in turn 3 as he started up off. He really rolled in on Mark a lap a minute ago. Joey's going to have to be smart. He's going to have to set him up. He's going to have to think about it and go to the gas in the right place to get a good run at Mark, or Mark's going to have to make a mistake.
Mark doesn't make many of those.
Yeah.
How do they feel in the leaders' camp, Chris?
Well, when I checked in with Rodney Childers on the fuel situation on the 55, I asked him, do you have anything for the 20? He said if Mark doesn't get him on the restarts, he didn't think so because the car was just way too tight when he was up underneath that rear bumper of the 20. Now that he's out front, he says the car is feeling great, but Joey Logano's car sure looks pretty good behind the 55.
And that's the thing, though. I mean, usually if you're out front, your car's working the best because it's in clean air. But like you said, I think you're right, Kyle. Logano's going to have to make Mark or force Mark into making a mistake.
Yes, and you saw over the tunnel turn there. Mark lets off early. Joey runs in on him. Mark goes back to the gas, and he puts that 3 or 4 car lengths on him right there. Joey's really driving in.
Now he's driving it hard.
Now he's overdriving.
Yeah.
And no matter what Joey does in this race, when he comes out of this race, he's going to be a better race car driver for have raced Mark Martin for a win like this.
It's nice to be up here with greatness. I mean, before the race today on Countdown to Green, we made our picks. I didn't. You two did, and Larry Mack. Kyle said Joey Logano. Wally, you said Mark Martin running 1-2. I mean, You guys are sharp.
What can I say?
But I'm going to tell you, I'll be the first to laugh if something doesn't go right. At you two. Not at Mark and Joey, but at you two, I promise you.
This is about Mark and Joey. This is not about Wally and myself.
No doubt.
But we are good.
Well, I was just going to say, it's hard enough to spend 6 weeks with you guys, especially when you're right.
But you know what? Larry had some good stuff to say about.
Oh, Mark jumped the bobble a little bit. That's stuff that Mark can't do.
That's what he can't do. Here comes Joey.
He might have enough run on him here.
Mark's here.
Oh.
4 to go.
Logano to the inside for the race lead. 4 laps remaining into turn 1.
No, it's the kind of thing you can't do. I'm telling you, one little mistake on each one of these guys. Oh, he is all under Mark Martin.
He got him.
Sideways.
Martin sideways off the corner. Here comes Joey Logano for the race lead at
Anyway,
Pocono.
we're not done yet. I don't think Mark's going to appreciate that too much.
No, but I truly believe that once Joey's in front, I do believe this. Joey checked out on him a minute ago because Joey can roll so much better through the center of the corner. What Joey was doing was rolling in on Mark and losing his front end. You know, Mark, every bit of that happened when Mark made a mistake up there in 3 and got on the curb. He opened the door for Joey to get in on him and just lay the bumper to him just a little bit and get him out of shape. That's a great move by Joey Logano.
Hey, guys, when I see these
Do
top
not look in the mirror. Let's go. Let's go. Everything out front. Come on.
of Joey Logano and Mark Martin, the move that Joey Logano just made on Mark Martin there in turn 1, if I go back to 2005, 2006, Joey Logano was not even old enough to drive a Sprint Cup Series car, but Mark Martin told Jack Roush when he was going to leave Roush Fenway Racing, I'd put Joey Logano in that 6 car because he will be a star one day. And when you think about Mark Martin, how about 6 second plate finishes at Pocono, but never has one here?
Bet you sorry about saying that now.
Yeah. But, you know, there are some racetracks, and we talk about this a lot up here, maybe too much. There's some racetracks that drivers just naturally adapt to. And Joey came here. Let's go back to Joey making the famous comment about Kevin Harvick's wife wearing the fire suit. And we know where that happened up here in turn 3. There's so many times that Joey has been right there on the cusp of having a great run or a great finish. And I mean, he's backed it up today. No matter where he ends up and what happens here, he has backed it up today. And so has Mark. I mean, Mark just solidifies that he's one of the greatest Cup drivers that ever sat in a car.
When Joey Logano won for the only time in his career at New Hampshire back in June of 2009, it was rain shortened. I'm sure that burns in you a little bit as a race car driver. He's hungry. There's no question about it. Marty talked earlier about the success in the Nationwide Series, and perhaps now he's got the confidence he needs to go win again on NASCAR's big stage.
He's also driving for his job. I mean, you can look at it any way you want, but he is driving to stay in this seat, and that's what he's driving about right now.
The bigger thing for Joey, I think, is the pressure that is on this kid to go out and perform. And I do believe, like Larry said, Darlington was a huge boost. I thought he ran a great race at Darlington. Got in the wall there at the end and still came back and managed something out of it. So I think when you look at Dale Jr., as we said before, drove his way back to 8th. That's as far as he can get. When you start racing against Kenseth and Boyer and Hamlin and those guys, it gets tough at the end of the race because they're not giving an inch.
Joey Logano got the white flag last time by. Less than a lap to his 2nd career win. Jimmy Johnson now closing in, trying to pass Tony Stewart for 3rd. What a day it's been for the 5-time champion.
And Jimmy Johnson, 2 speeding penalties, a lap down, makes it up, wave around, all this stuff, and comes back.
They do it all the time.
And that's
amazing.
And it's like we said in the beginning. Where has Jimmy Johnson gone? Not anywhere.
Welcome back to the top of the board. Joey Logano in his rookie season won for the first time June of 2009 at New Hampshire. Back to victory lane today. It happens at Pocono.
You are the real deal, brother. Woo, thank you. That is awesome.
Nice pick, huh?
nice pick, Wally.
Holy crap. Thank you, guys. What a car. Thank you so much. Wow. It feels awesome to finally win one the right way. No stupid rain.
Yeah, you said it.
You don't win by mistake when you come to Pocono. Joey Logano earned this one. Pit crew did their job. Good strategy calls by Jason Ratcliffe, the crew chief, who, by the way, a rookie crew chief in the Sprint Cup Series. I'll tell you, Joey's got a refreshing attitude. He's been smiling a lot lately and talked about that success over in the Nationwide Series, and perhaps we're seeing something develop out of the 20 camp. Joey came into today 16th in the standings. He will likely pick up some positions there, but more importantly, inside the top 20 with a victory, and now you add another name to the wild card conversation. First time in 31 races, a pole winner has gone to victory lane. Go ahead and burn him up, Joey Logano. You have won the Pocono 400 presented by #NASCAR. Round 14 in the Sprint Cup Series is complete in 2012. It ended like it started, with Joey Logano, the pole sitter, out front getting his second career victory. Welcome back to Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, and the NASCAR on TNT post-race show. Joey Logano celebrating for the second time in his career. Let's join the party in victory lane. Here's Marty Snyder.
Well, when he's won in the Nationwide Series and in the Cup Series, he's gotten out with that steering wheel, and he does it again today. Career win number 2 for Joey Logano. His dad, Tom, has already been in here to give him a big hug inside the race car. Jason Shapiro, the car chief, longtime car chief for this 20 team. I know you were emotional inside the car, and we were talking earlier this week. You told me you needed redemption after last August and what could have been a win for you here. But what were you thinking when Mark got around you on that restart? Did you think it's over?
I said, oh man, I screwed up. You know, I knew my car was better than his, and the clean air is worth so much. And man, Jason Ratcliffe and the guys gave me one heck of a car, and the brake package on this thing was amazing. And I was able to outbrake a lot of guys into one all day and make some passes there. So I didn't want to get in the back of Mark there, but I was just kind of running in with speed, and he was getting free, and I just kind of stayed right there. And man, it's just awesome to finally get victory lane the right way. I think Sprint, obviously the Home Depot, Toyota, all our sponsors that have helped us out so much throughout the year and sticking with us, Dollar General. Man, you don't know how much this means.
When you saw the bobble with Mark, was that the light you needed to make a move?
Yeah, I saw the bobble coming off a 3. I said, here's my chance. It's so hard to pass, and that was my one shot to get him, and was able to get it back. So I was going to be on suicide watch if I gave it away like that, but man, it was awesome to get it back.
So many rumors around you, people saying he doesn't deserve this ride. Maybe he needs to be back in Nationwide. What does this win say about you? I know you try to make it about team, but what does it say about you?
I hope it shuts them all up, is what I hope, and I tell you what, it just means a lot, man. For this whole team, Jason Ratcliffe, to get his first Cup win for him, man, it means so much. You don't understand. It's just, man, it's just cool.
He's holding back the tears. You know, Kyle picked you today, so he's going to have to pick it for the next 6 TNT races, isn't he?
You can pick me every race if that's what he wants.
All right. Congratulations, Joey Logano in victory lane. Chris Neville.
Well, Mark Martin had the 55 at the front all day, and Mark, those were some incredible restarts you had in the late going of this race. But that contact between you and Joey down in turn 1, what did you think about that?
We were racing hard, man. I wanted to win it so bad. I just want to thank Ken Butler, everybody from Aaron's, the fans, because that's why Ken Butler and Aaron's gave me this chance. Michael Waltrip. You know, these guys are awesome. What a great race team, and I'm so thankful that I have a chance to bid for a win. I wanted it really bad, and believe it or not, I fought for it tooth and nail.
Well, Mark Martin gets his 7th, second place at Pocono.
Mark Martin worked hard today. Unfortunately, came home a runner-up. How about the day for Michael Waltrip Racing? Martin finished 2nd. Clint Boyer, battling back from problems early, was 6th. Now we look at unofficial results from today's Pocono 400, presented by #NASCAR. Logano wins it. Mark Martin, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, and Denny Hamlin inside the top 5, guys.
Yeah, Boyer turned it around. Kenseth was strong all day, as was Earnhardt.
And you know, a lot of these guys that we're looking at right here are the same guys that started in the top 10. When we look at Jamie McMurray, Paul Menard had a great run. Carl to come back to him from 11th from the very first corner of the very first lap.
Ambrose hung in there all day long, was 13th, and Greg Biffle came in as the championship leader. Some engine issues, finished 24th, dropped to 3rd in the standings. Kyle Busch, 2nd week in a row. He's had engine problems. 30th is where he finished today. Landon Castle involved in that early accident after starting 15th. Rounds out the 43-car field. Send it to Matt Yoakum.
Impressive day by the 14 car. So many questions, Smoke, coming into today with the new pavement and the different variables. What was the biggest challenge? Because it was an impressive team effort in the 14.
Yeah, it's just so hard to pass, but everybody knew that going into it. It's something that only time will take care of and age will take care of, but this old racetrack made it a long time before it had to be repaved, but it just makes for a really long, hard day. It's you just can only get so close to guys, and then you struggle to get by. But man, I'm really proud of Steve Addington and all the guys in this Mobile One Office Depot team. Just a great job and a great way to rebound from the last couple weeks.
2 wins earlier this season. You said you were looking for that consistency. Good example that you guys are back on the right track.
Well, you hope so. I mean, it's a freshly paved track, so I mean that's a different variable altogether. But really, really proud of the effort and proud of. It's been a long day, a long week. I mean, it's been a 5-day week for these guys. So really proud of our team and congratulate Joey. That was an awesome job. He definitely earned that one.
And the 14 guys that come home third in Pocono Speed Week.
So we look now at the championship standings. Following round 14, Matt Kenseth takes over the lead. He's 10 in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. We told you about the problems for Greg Biffle. He drops from the top spot in the championship standings down to third, 16 points out. Denny Hamlin is fourth, and Jimmy Johnson in the top 5, 30 behind leader Matt Kenseth. What about the day for Dale Earnhardt Jr.? Strong all afternoon as you look at the standings outside the top 10. Let's hear from Dale Earnhardt Jr. Here's Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Dale, you said it. You had a really good race car. What held you up? Was it just a fuel strategy at the end?
Well, we can we start over?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. You ready? Okay. Junior, you said it yourself on the radio at the end. You had a really good car today. What was it that cost you the opportunity to get the win?
Well, we just didn't want to run out of gas. So I didn't know the caution flags were going to be so long. And they were long enough to help them guys make it on fuel. We just didn't. We're not able to take them kind of chances just yet.
And celebration continues in victory lane for Joey Logano. Second career win today. We talked about after the checkered flag what that would do to bring him into the wild card conversation. We'll look at the back half of the points in a moment. First, let's send it back downstairs to Matt Yoakum.
And the 2004 winner here at Pocono, Jimmy Johnson, not one, but 2 speeding on pit road penalties early. You've had 3/4 of the race to digest it. Any idea what could have caused all of that, Jimmy?
All we can really come up with is, NASCAR has the rule is from yellow line to yellow line, and what they do is they measure from the nose of the race car back to the transponder. So from the yellow line back however many feet is where the timing loop is. So long story short, when we get to the end of pit road, when your nose hits the line, you take off. I did that the first time I got nailed. I thought, all right, maybe I just overdid it. Second time I waited until the tail crossed the yellow line and still got pinched. So all we can come up with is that the yellow line versus the timing loop, that orientation is different here. Things were just repaved and everything's been redone, and we need to physically walk down and mark it off ourselves to understand what happened there. Because we got nailed along with a lot of other guys.
Was that a patented statement recovery by you and the 48 guys?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Chad called a great race. Got me some track position on 2 tires. Pit stops were flawless, and we had a fast car. I mean, if I had 3 major things with the big slide I had down in turn 1 on the second last restart, if one of those 3 didn't happen, I think we'd be in victory lane celebrating right now.
And the recovery ends 4th here at Pocono.
Matt, tell me about your day.
Well, it was up and down. When we got our car to the front, we were pretty good and could hold the lead there a little bit under greens, and just short runs are really difficult for me to get going. I could get through the gears fine and all that, and they would just still get out there, and I kept restarting outside and being in a bad spot, and we just lost so many spots. I just could never get it back.
There was so much issue about the timing lines today. Did you guys have any issues with that?
No, we pitted late that first run to try to get a bonus point and lead a lap, and we heard about all the people speeding. They told me about it, so I just made sure I ran real slow down pit road.
Thanks, Blake. Thanks for staying.
So Matt Kenseth, the championship leader after a 7th place finish here this afternoon at Pocono. Joey Logano started on the pole, takes his second victory of his career, 97th for Joe Gibbs Racing. Next Sunday, NASCAR on TNT heads to Michigan. Coverage begins 12 p.m. Eastern Time with Countdown to Green, followed by the Quicken Loans 400. Next on TNT on the East Coast, Die Hard with a Vengeance, and on the West Coast, Law and Order. Head over to NASCAR.com for our post-race show, more interviews and analysis. Thanks for being with us for NASCAR on TNT, and congratulations to Joey Logano.